It seems all right from what I can see on my side. Yeah, your picture's
It's
good.
not showing my. It's not showing my net. Yeah, I don't know. It's showing a black screen at the minute.
Oh, really?
I don't know whether. Okay, yeah. Now I think it's done. Now, yeah, sorted.
Okay. Oh, so you can see me okay, and you can see yourself.
Yeah. I can see you okay. Just sorting this out, and then we'll be good to go.
Sounds good.
Yeah. So, guys, I want to introduce you to Richard. He's been somebody that I've spoke to on social media quite a bit. To be fair, we spoke quite a lot on Twitter, Facebook. We've definitely had a lot of chats over the years. To be fair, I can remember we've been actually having quite a few chats for a few years. And yeah, obviously we've always had like debates about. We've always talked about Amir Khan. How's it going, Richard? How's it going, Rapid? They're saying Richard. Yeah, so yeah, we've had a lot of talks about over the years about Amir Khan and what he should do, and obviously now we've got a situation now, Richard, where Conor Benn looked fat. Firstly, what did you think of Conor Benn's performance last night?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I didn't expect a one-round blowout like that.
Yeah, neither did I. Yeah.
I mean, I think it was pretty sensational, to be honest with you. You know, it looked really fast, explosive, power, and then I think most of all his accuracy was really impressive. So early on in a fight as well, he was just so accurate, and he just looked, you know, hitting with intentions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bad intentions.
Yeah. So I mean, to be honest, I must admit, a couple of years ago, I really wasn't sure about him. I know that he didn't have much amateur going on, but I'm like, you know, and he sort of learned as he's gone through in the pro so far, and he's only had 18. I think he's at 18 fights now. I mean, to be honest with you, I was shocked that he did it in one round like that. I must admit, I thought it'd go a few more rounds, or even 12, to be honest.
You know what, Richard? Think about it. Vargas has been 12 rounds with Amir Khan. He's been rounds with Errol Spence, Danny Garcia. Virgil Ortiz went 7 rounds with him. Virgil Ortiz battered him in that fight. I watched it. He really did batter it. Do you think it could have been a case where, and Collazo also went the distance and he had a split decision loss against Collazo, who's a very good fighter as well. Do you think it was a case that he was a little bit shot worn, like after all those beatings that he took in those fights, or do you think it was Conor Benn sensational, or a bit of both?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I was thinking this myself, to be honest with you, earlier on. I think it could be a little bit of both, a couple of combination of things. Because, I mean, like I say, he's never really been, he's always been the one taking the beating in these big fights. I mean, I know people say, oh, he had Amir Khan down and all this, sort of give him nightmares. But let's be honest, apart from that knockdown, which I think Khan just let his guard down a little bit. He just stood still, didn't he, for a few moments, but especially after he'd already had him down. But apart from that, and then I think later on he did sort of clip him and just give him a little wobble. Other than that, Khan, to be honest with you, I know it was competitive to an extent, but it won pretty much every round, did Khan, in that one. And to be honest with you, most of his big fights is always taking a beating. So I think there is an element of he's always taking a beating, so it could be shot worn a bit. But I think the fight for me was going to show, it was almost like a yardstick fight, because we've seen all these other big guys go in again, big names fight him and beat him, and I think we would see how he performed against Vargas compared to how all these other, big name, world class proven fighters, did against him. So there might have been a bit of shot worn there, no question, and he maybe caught him cold a little bit, but at the same time it was massively impressive. Like, no one's done that to him.
No,
we've got to give him that.
Yeah, Hamed Ali's asking, Imran, I wanted you to, let's say, Conor Benn beats Avanesian. Do you think that would be a good victory for him, fight the likes of Ugas and Porter? Personally, I don't think we can say he beats Avanesian. Avanesian's a very, very good fighter. I don't think you can just say if he beats Avanesian. To be honest, I think Avanesian would be the favorite in that fight. What do you think, Richard?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think, because it's a difficult one because Conor blasted Vargas out so quickly, we still haven't really seen him have genuine test yet. So I mean, I know we beat for Miller, but I mean, and you know, and then I know that Ben was kind of throwing it as, oh, he's a former world champion, but it was only an IBO champion. Was for Miller, but I just think he's still not had that test. But I think Avanesian will give him that test, really test his guts at that, you know, at that European / world level. I think, you know, I think he'll get a real test again. So I think that's where we'll find out just how good Conor Benn really is, you know, in terms of levels at the moment. Because I think it was, I felt last night would be a yardstick, and it's just hard to tell when someone knocks someone out, you know, like that in one round. I mean, it looked impressive, but like I say, against Avanesian, you know, there'll be really tough moments, I feel, in that fight. I think it'd be 50-50 at this stage, I think. Or maybe just a bit favouring Avanesian.
Yeah.
I think, probably just favouring Avanesian at the moment. But, yeah, it's a difficult one, I think, with that one.
Yeah. It's very difficult, to be honest. I think I made a video, I don't know if you saw it, Richard, where I said that I think the next fight for Conor Benn is going to be very difficult, but it's going to be a fight that he potentially could lose.
Yeah.
We'll come on to Khan and Ben in a minute, but I think the matchmaking for him is going to be like the matchmaking for the next fight is going to be very, very interesting, because to be honest with you, I don't know who they could match him against, because it seems like they don't want to go down the British route. I actually think that Mickinson could be a problem.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, the way he beat Congo as well, you know.
Yeah.
A lot of people had, you know, big sort, you know, saying big things about Congo, and he did, when he knocked him down, did really well against him, didn't he? And did he have him down first round, didn't he? And he had him down later. I can't remember the round, but yeah. I think I think I've seen Makinson tweeting himself today, like he's saying, why aren't Sky mentioning my name for him and all this lot. But to be honest with you, I think Ben's going for Khan because I genuinely think he knows Khan's not been in the ring for 2 years. He's probably seen him on like the reality TV shows. It's let's be honest, he's not really training to any kind of intense level, and that's a bit of a worry, because you know yourself that I'm a huge Khan fan, like you as well. I'm emotionally invested in Khan. I always have been since the early days, and to be honest with you, I'd actually worry about even jumping in against Conor Benn, because he's in the gym. He's a gym rat, you know.
He is. Yeah.
At this stage in Khan's career, you know, he's just barely fighting, barely training. I think it's actually dangerous for his health, to be honest with you. You know?
I agree. I definitely agree. Guys, by the way, if you thought I was a big Amir Khan fan, Richard is a huge, bigger fan than me. Like, I remember Richard showing me like articles that he's written about Amir Khan. And actually, I think there was not a lot of guys on YouTube that give Amir any. Like, he has a lot of people that want to hate on him, and there's a lot of a narrative about the chin and stuff like that, where I feel he gets disrespected a lot. But Richard is somebody that's been a huge Amir Khan fan and followed his career, you know, and actually studied his career, knows his career inside out, you know. And it's not like, when we both talk about him, it's not delusional. We know the limitations he had as a fighter and what he was, you know, what he was. But it's just that certain people, I don't know if you've seen this online, certain people act like he didn't do anything. Like, someone said today on Twitter, like, he was a glorified David Price. And I was like, mate, what you could, like, I find some comments like, I just like, surely you can't believe that. Surely you cannot believe that, you know, that you actually, I don't know. Some people, I just find them really, I don't know whether they're just intentionally trying to troll, or what their purpose is behind saying certain things. But like, what do you make of all of the everything around Khan and the criticism he gets in his career? Give your view about his career.
It's a really weird one, because I mean, like, I'm not going to lie, I've had a lot of arguments on Twitter over the years. You know, people say in the comments, like you say yourself, just really uneducated comments as well, where they're just wanting to trash him or troll him, for whatever reason. But like, I mean, to be honest with you, I just take it with a pinch of salt now. I think it's just, I think a lot of them that do come out with these comments aren't necessarily like hardcore fans. I think they're just casual fans who, for what, you know, because don't get me wrong, I think he's got one of them personalities, Khan, where it's either you either love him or you hate him. You know, he's got, you know what I mean. He's a little bit out there sometimes. You know, he likes to do. You know, he's got that personality where you know, like I say, we do reality shows. Some people love it, some people don't.
Yeah.
And I think you know, especially in his younger days when he were in his prime as well, and you know, sometimes he could be a little bit cocky in interviews and. You know, oh, I'm going to do him in 5 rounds, him in 4. You know what I mean? But that's fun. You know, and Khan himself has even said, you know, I'm supposed to act cocky. I'm supposed to make the opponent think I'm going to, think that I don't fear him. I'm going to, you know, he's supposed to put fear into the opponent, and he's supposed to act confident. And some people seem to have it against him, but you know, there's a lot more like cocky fighters out there than Khan. But Khan, in his early days, don't get me wrong, like throughout a lot, you know, the amount of top fighters he beat, particularly between like the ages of 22 to like, you know, I know he had a couple of losses when he was, I think he was like 25 against Garcia and Peterson, but you know, he had some really brilliant wins, you know, and back then he was dedicated, he were different desire in the sport back then. But I think a lot of the comments, I think Khan even knows himself now. I've seen him in interviews, he's just like, you know, it just is what it is. You get some people who hate you, some people who love you, and I think he's just got a polarizing personality. That's all. More than
I think he doesn't really care any. I've seen him in interviews. Like, you're right. I think he doesn't really care. I think he just thinks that I've made my money. I've done what I needed to do. People got opinion about me. It is what it is. It is what it is. I don't think he really cares. Richard, I wanted to ask you some questions that some of these guys actually send in. So Abdul Alim says, Amir Khan, if he's 50% of the fighter he will. Let me see if I can put these on. Let me see if I can put these. Yeah, so Amir Khan, if he was 50% of the fighter he will beat Benn. Khan would outbox him, possibly TKO him late. What do you think to that, Richard?
Yeah, I think, you know, I'd agree with that, with 50%. You know, if he was 50% the fighter he was, I would kind of maybe agree with that. But the thing that worries me, the thing that worries me is just not being in the gym training. If I'm being honest, I just think at that point in your career, I mean, don't get me wrong, I know he lives a pretty clean life. He don't drink alcohol, does he? Which is a big plus for him. You know, I guess he could get fitter much quicker than some of the fighters who maybe do drink in between and, you know, balloon up. He's never really been one for ballooning up in there or anything. But I just you know what it is. It's your body. You know, it's not conditioned. It's not been conditioned for 2 years now to take punishment, and at his age, I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just a little bit. I'm really unsure what Khan is, to be honest with you. But I think. But the thing is, with Khan, he always gets himself into great shape for the fights. To be fair to him, but I just think if he's gonna be fighting even someone like Conor Benn, you know, who really is a gym rat, he's a fitness fanatic. I think he needs to get on the ball now, to start getting some intense training and maybe have a couple of camps before he has his first fight back. Just because, you know, we want to see the best Khan. We don't want to see, you know, one of these situations where a young gun just like takes apart an older fighter. The thing is, with Khan, he's always got his legs and experience, and he can survive for a few rounds. But I just think, you know, if he was way off the pace, you know, he's still got that in him. But I don't want to see Khan just, you know, sort of tarnish his legacy in that way. I want to see the best Khan can be, you know.
Richard, do you think it's one of them where, like, if he beats Conor Benn, just say the fight happens. I personally, I don't think the fight. I don't know whether. I think Amir Khan. I don't know if you saw his tweet. Did you see his tweet?
Yeah.
What did you make of his tweet?
I had a bit of an argument on there with someone on about earlier. Someone proper laying into him, and I'd like an argument on there with a couple of people. But to be honest with you, I think I'm not sure he wants it. You know, looking at that tweet, he's almost like humouring a bit. You know, he's like, you know what, you did great. You're a good up and coming fighter, but you know, you're not on my radar, basically. And, you know, I think Khan's looking for. I think Khan knows, he must know in himself that he's not got the same desire he once had. And I think he knows he needs to be smart in who he picks to fight. I think he knows Brooks in a similar position to him, so he's chasing him. He knows it's still a big money fight, let's be honest. And, you know, everyone's still going to tune in, no matter who says the word. But, you know, and I think, you know, I think someone like a Broner's more on his radar. You know, someone from sort of this generation who's going down the same sort of path. You know, maybe not a full-time boxer anymore, because I don't think that's what Khan is now. I think he's like a part-time boxer really now. The last 4 years or so. But no, I don't think he really wants it, to be honest. But then, having said that, I don't think if the money's there, and it get built up of this fight, it'd be a massive fight. Ben, Khan against Benn, it really would sell well. And the young gun against the old experienced fighter on the way out. I think it would, and you know what? I think it would be a brilliant fight. No matter which Khan turns up, whether he's well past his best or whether he, back up there, which I doubt. But, if he is, I think it'll be a brilliant fight to watch.
Yeah, it would be. He's not gonna tuck up and get slaughtered like Vargas did. No way. Even if he gets ironed out, he'll throw his hands. Exactly. He'll definitely will throw his hands. But what Richard, I have to come back to the point that you made about worrying about how he's looking. I saw him. I don't know if you've seen this. I saw him in his reality TV show, and he was on the back. I don't know if you saw this. He was on the back, and he was
about third episode in. Was it about third episode in? Was it?
Yeah. I think I don't know what episode it was, but he was punching the bag. And Richard, Amir Khan in his prime was so effortless doing things like that. Yeah, it looked like it was a struggle, and he was like really struggling to let the punches go. I don't know if you saw that, and I was like, that looks. What's going on there? Like, it looks like he's having to make an effort to throw those punches rather than it being effortless. And I was like, no, that's not good at all, because he didn't, his body shape didn't look right as well. So I'm on the same wavelength as you in the sense that I'm not sure what he's like. He might be completely finished. I don't know what he's got left. He might be completely over the hill.
Yeah, to be honest with you, it's a good point you said there, because I noticed that. I think it was about 3 episodes in. To be honest with you, I've still got about 2 episodes left on it. And I've finished the last 2 episodes, but I think it was about 3rd episode in, and you were having like a strength and conditioning session.
Yes.
And it almost looked laboured, like really laboured, like you say. And that's a worrying thing. I felt like he only did that session maybe for the show a little bit. That's what I was worried about, thinking he's just not really in it, Like, it almost like it was just a random, sporadic session that he had out of nowhere, and the show went and filmed him. I don't know how often he's doing these sessions and that. I'm just not convinced, because he always used to post training stuff on Instagram. He never posts anything like that now, and it just worries me that he's, if you are going to make a comeback again, which I guess will be his 2nd official comeback, right? Since because he kind of no one knew what was going on after the Canelo defeat, and he had a good couple of years out, then made a comeback. Now he's had 2 years out, which is kind of been blaming on COVID. But I mean, if he really wanted to fight, I think he'd have fought behind closed doors. I know it won't be the same for him, because he's always had big crowds behind him and stuff. But I just think I'm just worried. It's more about, I think more with Khan, it's his desire. Does he still have that desire to push his body where he's pushed it before? Does he really have that desire to take punishment? Because in the past, look at Maidana, he had that desire, and he wanted to be
that hunger.
Yeah, hunger, that's it. And it took them big shots. Danny Garcia kept getting up, and fighting off heart, and I just feel like against Crawford, for the first time in his career, we saw a moment of weakness, a little bit mentally. And I don't think he wanted to stay in there. I mean, it was actually, I think in that fight, in the end, he was boxing to survive a little bit. And I think he thought to himself, that's not me. I'm not the type who does that. And I think, maybe that affected him mentally.
I agree. The Crawford fight was I remember me and my dad were watching it together, and my dad said to me that he looks terrible. He goes, this isn't Amir Khan. He thought that, have they sent an imposter? This doesn't look anything like him. He goes, he's so sharp, so quick. Nothing. He just looked. Don't get me wrong, Crawford is top draw, but Amir Khan, surely he wouldn't get out. I don't think anyone can outclass him like that when he fought Maidana. I don't care whether it's Crawford, Mayweather. Don't get me wrong. I think even in his prime, I would favor those guys to beat him. But there's no fighter, I don't think, that would be able to just neutralize Khan from the start, from the get-go, and just he was not in great shape at that point when he fought Crawford. Let's be honest, the first, and to be honest, when he got knocked down, I know it was a good sharp right hand from Crawford, But Amir Khan's taken punches a lot harder than that in his prime. You know, like he's been hit by Maidana with huge right hands. I saw that many times during that fight. And the first really meaningful shot Amir got hit with in that fight, a chopping right hand. It wasn't even a, like a drilling, like Canelo's drilling right hand.
Yeah.
This was like a chopping right hand. And it literally had him in trouble.
Like stinging on it, right on the button, it's like a stinging shot on it.
Yeah. It wasn't. And for the first time, when he got up, you know how normally he's all over the place. When he got up, he actually looked quite fine. He didn't look too like he's all over the place, like he's wobbling and he's falling to pieces. Whereas here he was actually not that badly hurt, but it was just like he got caught with a good shot. But he got back up and then he recovered, and then he was just like you said, he was like taking a punishment in there. And like you said, I thought after round 3 or 4 he was actually surviving. I don't think he thought he could win the fight. I thought he was surviving, and that's not Amir Khan. Let's be honest.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, there were a few other times he got caught, and it's like slightly went, but then it didn't seem like you say, it wasn't wobbling all over the place. But the thing is with Khan, to his credit in that fight, I think for the next couple of rounds, because he's got experience, he's a good boxer, and he's still got legs to an extent, and he kind of just kept himself in the fight, and I think he tried to give it a little bit to Crawford in spots, but he just couldn't get near him. And I think what it is as well, I think it was all that inactivity, because when the Khan was at his best as well, when for them 2 or 3 years when he was constantly in camps with Virgil, I think he didn't even fight for 1 whole year, and he was just learning his craft. And after the finish with Crawford, one thing I noticed, and I like Khan looked a little bit out of depth with it. Khan likes to do his parrying a little bit like that, parrying. And I noticed that Crawford was like whacking it down, and using all these little tricks. I noticed, and Khan looked a bit flustered with it, like, whoa, no one's done this to me before. Khan's always been the one who's controlling the range, and he just, like, Khan were trying to get in there. And I think, to be honest with you, the Khan of old would have done, because it was different Khan. He was gliding in and out, and he can control range. And like I say, it looked so effortless when he was younger. But I just think not being in the in the gym, learning his craft since the Canelo defeat, really, I think that it put him a couple of steps back. And I just think he was in against an elite boxer, and who just knew how to control him. And then he'd never experienced that before. I think it threw him a little bit myself in that one.
Rapid Blaze is asking, how has he really been tested though? I mean, Vargas. Has Conor Benn really been tested?
Yeah. I mean, that's it. He hasn't really, has he? I think that's why he needs to. I mean, the thing like we say with Vargas, it's more about the top guys. It's always looking at how is this top guy going to beat him? How is this top guy going to look beating him? Like, I think we all deep down knew Conor Benn had beat him or expected him to win. But the thing is, it's how he did it. But I think we need to see him in there. I actually think maybe the guy who Ennis beat, who looked really good last night, Lipnitz, is it?
Lipnitz.
Yeah, because he's a former world champion. He's generally a pretty durable guy. He's a decent fighter, I reckon, and he's kind of like, he's not at his peak anymore, but he's kind of at that. So he's above fringe world level, it's like a edge of world level fighter, and I reckon he'd be him, or like I say, Avanesian would be a good fight for him next, I think. But then again, I also think a fight against Khan would be a good one for him. If he, I think it'll just be, the thing is, if he beats Khan, no matter what Khan looks like, it's a name, isn't it? It's a name, it's a money. I think it would be for Ben. It makes more sense, like you said earlier, than what it probably does for Khan. But
Richard Brown says, "Don't underestimate Amir. Don't underestimate Khan." Do you think it's a case where people are like, so for example, just say if this fight was to be made, do you think after that performance we're dwelling too much on that performance from Conor Benn by saying, like, because obviously Conor Benn now, a lot of fans think he's favorite and Conor Benn would knock him out in a couple of rounds. So do you think we're paying too much into that? Because remember when Khan fought Phil LaGreco, Phil LaGreco, he knocked Phil LaGreco out in a round, and Phil LaGreco went the distance with Sean Porter. But if Amir Khan at that point had fought Sean Porter, who would you have favored? You know, so is it one of them, or is it a case where actually Amir Khan's not past his best and Conor's on the rise?
Yeah, I think that's a good question actually. I think in some ways you can't always read too much into that last night. In some ways, if your fight's Khan. Just because it just happens, like you say, styles make fights as well, and it happened to. I mean, no one's done, like we said, no one's done that to Vargas before. No one beat him in that sort of fashion that early. But I just feel like we can. It's just I feel like there's as much question mark over the Khan now as there is the Conor Benn now. Not so much of Khan's skill. You know, he's always going to have them fast hands really, and he's got that experience, you know, but I just think it's in terms of just how what sort of shape he's gonna get into. I mean, I think with Khan, everyone automatically thinks, oh, if Conor Benn did that, Khan hasn't got a great chin, he's gonna get caught early on, but Khan's a clever boxer, he's not gonna get caught like that early on. You know, he's sharp. Khan's usually a fast starter himself, and he's sharp, he's on the ball, he's accurate, especially early on. Early on, Khan will always be accurate in a fight, you know. Early on in a fight, he's usually the one that looks great early on in fights. And I think even if it's not like he used to be for 4 or 5 rounds, I still think Khan will be really good, look really good for a few rounds against Conor. And then it depends what goes on from there, really. I don't see Conor catching Khan early. I know that we can all say, oh, we're not sure about Khan's chin and stuff, especially now at his age, and and he's got a lot of power as Benn, and he looked amazing last night, but I think Khan's too experienced to let himself get caught with shots that early on in a fight nowadays. I think, I just think it'll be an unbelievable fight. If Khan gets in shape, I don't really want it, but if it did, I honestly think it'd be a brilliant fight. And Benn's I think he's going to prove to be a genuine world-class fighter, to be honest with you now. I wasn't sure a few years ago, but I think he might be now. And he's got that hunger in him, hasn't he, and that desire. But I think we'll know more depending how they match him next. I think we'll know more then.
Do you think, obviously, Amir Khan has been accused of ducking Kell Brook for a very, very long time. And to be fair, he should have fought Brook a long time ago. I think a lot of the British fans hold that against him. And I think he should have fought Kell Brook a long time ago. But that aside, do you think he could win the British fans over? Because if he fights Kell Brook now and beats Kell Brook, I don't think that kind of holds the same weight. But if he fights Conor Benn and beats Conor Benn, right, do you think he could win a lot of the fans? I don't know. It depends on some of those fans that hate on him might just hate him regardless. But do you think he could win vast majority of the British fans over if he was to fight someone like Conor Benn and beat him?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think he could. I think there's certain fans that you're just never going to win over. Some like the hating type fans. I just for whatever reason, they've got their own reasons for not liking Khan for whatever reason. I don't think they're changed. Although they've probably got other fighters that do the same too as well.
Yeah, exactly.
They're always bashed, but I do think if because everyone's raving about him now. Conor Benn, and everyone's like, he's like the talk of the town now, isn't he? I mean, until the next big fight happens, but it's the talk of the town, isn't he now? And I think people seen that sensational display, and people talk about Khan's chin. If Khan goes in there, fights this young gun, because let's be honest, it's probably a daunting prospect for Khan or Brook to go in with him, really, because he is ferocious. He's been, he's so hungry. You can see it, and he's got mean intentions with his punches. If Khan goes in there and beats him, I think you'll always get some. Your fans will say, "Oh, I said it anyway. His class, his experience, he's got the skill. He won't on Khan's. He's not on that level what we thought he was. But whereas you get, if Khan wins, and you get some that'll be like, do you know what? His fair play to him is taken on the young." The next big thing from British boxing in terms of how some of the Sky Sports pundits are now sort of branding him. I think to the casual market, I think he'll get a lot of good sort of attention. I think the hardcore fans know how good Khan was and know his legacy. But I think beating Conor Benn, I honestly think I think if he fought him and beat him, you know, he's fighting a young, hungry fighter. He was explosive, powerful. You know, I think it'll be good for his record going into retirement. I really do. You know, if the Brook fight don't come off. But yeah, like you say with Brook fight, let's be honest, it should have really happened between 2000 when Khan moved up to welterweight, really around 2014 to 2016. They were the peak years for them both, really, for it to happen, I feel. And I don't know if you've heard it before. You know, one of Khan's old managers, I think it's Asif Valley. I can't remember his name. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, him and yeah, that's it. Yeah, him and I've forgotten the name of the other guy now. Oh, what's his name? It'll probably come back to me later. But he's not like someone who's mainstream, but he's always involved in the big fights in the back. He used to be involved in a lot of Ricky Hatton's fights, making those fights. I've seen on a couple of various YouTube interviews in the past that have sort of got lost in YouTube, you know, where actually Khan in 2016, before Khan took the Canelo fight, Khan's team signed their side of the deal, and then Brook's team didn't like the money and didn't walked away from it, and then that's when the offer came from Golden Boy, for Khan to fight Canelo, and then obviously Khan took it, wanted Dead to be great, and then we all know what happened later on, about a year later, or whenever it was, several months later, Brook took on Triple G. But apparently Brook walked away from that deal, but to do with money. Whereas like now, when they were making the Crawford Khan fight, they were close to the Brook fight then as well. And the money was less then for Brook than what it would have been if Brook had took that money. You know, when they were all complaining about the splits and stuff. Apparently, but like it never gets mentioned. You know, it's not like a known thing. But apparently, and like I said, I'm only going off certain interviews I've seen. But apparently, that is the case. That Brook actually walked in 2016.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. Richard. But it seems like, I think what it was that I think Amir obviously thought he was the biggest star, bigger name. So he thought that, you know, this guy should just take what I'm offering him. Whereas like Brook was like, I'm world champion, and I feel like Amir Khan should have fought Danny Garcia rather than fighting Canelo. I think that that move there really kind of put a halt to his career. I think it ended it at world level. He ended him at world level. I personally think he should have fought Danny Garcia, because I think he could have won that fight. Yeah,
because he was mandatory, wasn't he, for Garcia at that point? Well, that's the I mean, like you said, I mean, don't get me wrong. At the time, we were like, everyone were excited, like, wow, he's fighting Canelo, he's moving up. Not 2 weights, but he actually won 5'5" catch weight, but he was still under the middleweight limit. But I think everyone thought, you know. I think so where was I?
Everyone was excited about the Canelo fight.
Everyone was excited for it, you know, everyone were buzzing. I was, you know, like, wow, this is an unbelievable moment, and you know, like, I was really excited for the fight. In fact, I was running the Leeds half marathon at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'd stayed up to like 5 a.m. watching Canelo. I literally had 2 hours sleep, went off and ran half marathon. That's how, you know, excited. There was no way I was going to miss a Khan fight. So I still ran it on and hardly any sleep. But yeah, basically, I just think that you're right. He really should have fought Danny Garcia, because Khan, to be fair, for the, you know, throughout that fight, he actually boxed really well. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Canelo sort of knew that he would catch him at some point, and he sort of started putting traps on him. After a few rounds, he realised he was trying to suss him out, and a few times he made Canelo look silly. You know, with some of his misses. But and to be fair, it took a few flush shots as well. Did Khan?
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did.
The ones he saw coming, but that one, in the end, the one that came, obviously, it was monster punch, and he kind of just, it was a bit of a lazy jab on it, and he kind of walked into it. That's it. And Canelo put everything into it. But yeah, aside from that, Virgil Hunter said after the fight, he said that's, if Khan had been fighting at welterweight against any welterweight in the world tonight, he'd have been, you know, he'd have won. He basically said he'd have beaten any welterweight in the world at that time. Because, you know, with the like I say, it was performing brilliantly. His feet were there, his legs in and out. You know, he was making Canelo miss, and you know, he had it. And like, you know, Khan threw the first 1-2. You know, that shows his bravery. throwing a 1-2 so early on in a fight against Canelo. You know, I think if he'd have fought Danny Garcia that night instead at welterweight for the world title instead of Canelo, I think his career could have gone down a completely different path. I think after that first fight with Garcia, I think he realised the mistakes he made in that fight, and I think he'd have just completely boxed the second fight. I don't think Danny Garcia would have got to him. I don't think Danny Garcia he'd have used his legs. You know, I think in that fight, I think he'd have just used his boxing skills, and because I felt like Khan was just kind of in his second peak that time as well. Really good wins at welterweight, and he were looking unbelievable. You know, they could have had 2 or 3 fights. You know, they were genuine 50-50 fights.
Yeah, it was the other thing is, now, you know, people look back on hindsight. I don't know what you made of this. Like, oh yeah, Brook would have definitely beat Amir Khan. Like, and Brook was a massive, like, some people I see on YouTube as well, like, act like Brook was like a huge favorite. Amir Khan would have been the bookies' favorite in that fight. If that fight had happened before Amir Khan fought Canelo, I'm pretty sure he would have been the bookie's favorite going. I'm not saying that means he wins, because he was the bookie favorite against Danny Garcia as well. But what's your take on that? Do you think he would have been the favorite going into that fight, or like bookie's favorite?
Yeah, I think with the bookies, I'd have thought. To be honest, it's a bit of a weird one with Khan, because he could be a little bit inconsistent. He was a bit up and down, but I think with the role that he was on, I know he had a little bit of a iffy performance against Algieri, but I think a lot of people slept on Algieri just because he got knocked down 6 times by Pacquiao. You know, I think, and to be fair, I wasn't sure about Algieri's coach in Conor, like some stuff he was coming out with in that fight, saying I'm letting Algieri out of the cage, I'm letting you out of the cage, and all this against Pacquiao. But now I think, to be honest with you, like. I mean, you just got to go off who they'd beaten up until that point. And I know that Brook had beaten Porter, but it was a very close fight, to be fair. And I just think, and I think everyone were going. I mean, Brook has unbelievable timing, especially at that point in his career, and that's what he was known for. But I think he seemed to have a lot of people latching onto him. He's a power puncher and all this lot. But I never really saw that at world level. I never saw that he had that same sort of power. Kell Brook, he had enough power to sort of make you think twice. He definitely did that with Porter, but he didn't have like concussive power at world level. I don't think he ever proved to have that, really. Brook, and so I'm not sure whether the power thing will come into it as much as what people say. You know, everyone was saying Khan was chinny, and you know Brook could have destroyed him, knocked him out as soon as he caught him. But back then, Khan could glide around the ring like I say, effortlessly. I just think he'd have tried to box his head off. You know, he probably would have got caught a few times. And Kell Brook's clever, you know, really clever fighter, I must admit. You know, and he's got unbelievable timing. But I just think they could have had 3 fights, and you weren't sure who was going to win either. You know, all 3. I honestly think they could have created a true legacy. You know, they could have had a trilogy or read 2 fights. You know, it were kind of. It's a shame, really. It really is a shame.
Yeah. Well, let's look at some of these questions. So, Burning Desire says Avanesian beats Benn. I still rate Benn as per prior performance to Vargas, but I rate his power. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's a valid point there, really. I mean, because it's not really been tested by anyone meaningful over 12 rounds or anything, has it? I mean, we definitely know he's got power, but Avanesian is a former world champion. I know it was WBA regular title, but he's a former world champion. He's beaten Mosley. I know it was a past it Mosley, but you know, and look what he did. How he took Kelly apart. You know, I mean, early on in that fight, you know, Josh Kelly looked great for a couple of rounds, didn't he? And as soon as and I think he actually got caught by Avanesian. Got caught for a moment, didn't he? By Josh Kelly. He had a little bit of a wobble, but he just, you know, he just kept putting the pressure on, and I think that pressure, it'll be interesting to see Avanesian putting that pressure onto Conor Benn, because he's not gonna step back. Is Avanesian? He's gonna bring it, and I think that's where we'll get the true, real sort of gut test with Conor Benn. I know he had that fight early on, didn't he? Was it like his 4th or 5th fight, and it shocked everyone. He got knocked down a couple of times.
Yeah, Pano.
Yeah, that was it. And everyone was like, "Ooh," you know, everyone was a bit like, "What's going on here?" But I guess in some ways that was a gut check. But I think a true gut check at the world sort of lower world level that Avanesian is European champion. I think he's the I think that's who he should be fighting next, really. But I won't blame him for going for Khan and then going for Avanesian, to be honest. I just think that deep down, Conor Benn thinks Khan's just heart's not in it, and he won't be at his best. That's why I think he's going for him, and he's obviously the money and the name. But now I think Avanesian will give him Avanesian, or even Lipinets, who Ennis beat over there. I think that might be a good fight, because that, we saw how Ennis beat him. Let's see how Conor Benn can beat him. But I think he does need one of them real gut check fights at world, sort of fringe to world level. Yeah. Well, we all thought Vargas would give him that, but he didn't.
To be honest, I wasn't even sure he beat Vargas. Honestly, before the fight, could you honestly you wouldn't put your house on Conor Benn beating Vargas?
No. I mean, I thought it would do. I had a feeling it would do, but I didn't. I expect him to, but if someone said put your house on it, I'd be like, whoa. Now, to be honest with you, there's no way I'd put my house on it, but I did expect him to win, but I just thought, I just didn't expect that to happen so quick. And I mean, I don't know, it was a big shock, really, how we dispatched of him like that. But it's a difficult one. Maybe is it one of them? It's hard to tell what level it's at, what level Benn's at, and you get some fighters that like stuck in between levels a little bit, and I guess we'll find out once he fights someone like an Avanesian. I think he needs a fight like that next, definitely. But then again, it'd be equally interesting to see him fight Makinson, actually. I think that'd be but like I say, it's a risky fight for Benn at the moment. I say that is. I think that's why he's going for like a Khan. He wants a big name.
So Abdul Alim is asking, Benn could potentially beat Broner. He would be the biggest and stronger man. What do you make of that?
Yeah, do you know what? I think he could beat Broner, because again with Broner, I mean, I don't really know. It's not been inactive as the last few years, really. I know he fought a couple of weeks ago, but a lot of people weren't impressed with Broner. Yeah, and to be honest with you, I think I'd put Benn maybe. I think Benn would beat Broner. Yeah, I honestly think he would. I'm not so sure about Broner anymore, and he doesn't seem to throw.
He's not. He doesn't. The problem is with Broner is that I think he was a little overhyped, to be honest with you. If I'm totally honest, I think he was a little overhyped by the American public. They were hyping him up to be the next Mayweather.
Yeah.
But really, I never really ever looked at. I don't know what you think, but I never really was that impressed by Broner. Even when I saw him fight Gavin Reese,
I watched that one. Yeah, I remember.
Didn't really. I wasn't impressed. I don't know whether it's maybe because of his. I just wasn't impressed. I didn't think he looked great in that fight, to be honest with you. It was just that Gavin Reese was overmatched. But when you think about even then his fight with Paulie, and Amir Khan knocked out Paulie years before. And when you think about his fight with Maidana, what Maidana did to him was really bad. And yeah, I never really took to Broner, to be honest with you, Richard. I don't know what you made of him.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, Broner, I always felt like, I mean, when he was sort of coming up and he won his first title and stuff, I think it was back at lightweight, wasn't it?
Lightweight. Yeah.
I remember, like I say, back then, I don't think the lightweight division were that deep back then. And don't get me wrong, I think he's one of them fighters who, up to a certain level, he looks great because he's got that flashy style and he can get away with it. He's got that shoulder roll and all that. And I think against a certain level of opposition, he pulls it off and he looks great. But then I think when you get to that genuine world class sort of pushing to elite level, unless you're really special, you can't get away with that. And I think he's a good fighter who looks special against certain levels of fighters. In fact, Josh Kelly, as talented as he is, he kind of reminded me a little bit of that when I saw him against Evanesian in some ways, in the sense that, you see him against the lower levels and he's not really, up until Evanesian, who did really fought really at that, that world sort of fringe world level. And I just felt like against certain opponents, you can get away with that style and he can look flash and do his posturing and get away with it. But when you get to a certain level, you get found out. You know, there's not many fighters who's been able to do it at that top level. You know, when I say do that, I mean like these unorthodox styles. Like Prince Naseem Hamed, he could do it. He backed it up. I know he lost against Barrera, but in my opinion, I don't think that was the real Naz in that night. But I mean, Barrera was a legend. Let's be honest. But, but I just think like at that world class level, Prince Naseem proved that he could do it. You know, he beat so many top fighters. You know, at that world class level. You know. And I just think like Broner, up to a certain point, he can that style that he's got, where he's trying to copy the Mayweather style a little bit. I mean, he's always had that shoulder roll that a lot of fighters now seem to try and copy. I think when you get to a certain level, you just need something extra, and you know, if you've got something missing or you can't quite execute it at that world class level, you get found out. And whenever he steps up to that elite level, I think Broner. You know, don't get me wrong, he's a 4-weight world champion, but like when you look at who he won them titles off, it's probably when you can delve into anyone's resume, you can pick faults in everyone's probably, but even Mayweather, I didn't fight him then or then, but you know, I think at the end of the day, when you really delve into Broner's resume, you know, he probably lost the big fights or the big fight career really.
I want to ask you a question. So I've just seen someone in the comment section, PG, say Broner is a rapper, not a boxer. Give the guy a break. Yeah, he is a funny guy. And then Gordon Chuck says Sean Porter is a beast, dude. Yeah, but I don't think either of us deny that he's
Sean Porter. Do you know what? Like that's it. He called out Broner. In fact, we haven't spoken about it. Yeah, he called out Broner, did Conor Benn, but I just want to say it's way too early for Broner because Broner's still legit.
In Porter, not Broner.
Sorry, not Broner, my fault. Porter's still legit for me. You don't go in with him just yet.
Johnny Nelson said he beat Porter. He literally said it in comments. He said he'd beat Porter. I was like, what is this, man? What is this? And then I saw you know boxing with Addy.
Oh yeah. I watched some of his stuff actually.
Yeah,
he Sky Sports sometimes as well. Isn't he he does the football transfers on Sky.
Yeah. I saw him tweet, and he said, "Johnny, come on, behave." Sean Porter, and then Sam Jones tweeted. Sam Jones tweeted with a laughing face. It's like, so I don't know, like, I don't know whether Johnny does it to hype up like the fighters. I don't know. And he also said that Amir wouldn't want to get in with him, which is probably fair. You know, you can't argue. I don't think Amir would want to get in with him. But I will say, I will say that I think that if they're that confident, right, and that he can beat Sean Porter, then why are they calling out Amir Khan? Because Sean Porter's -- with the WBC. And his dad, Conor Benn, Nigel Benn, they're quite confident that his dad thinks he could fight Porter and beat him, but he said he's not ready for Avanesian. So I didn't. And Avanesian's Carl Greaves gave an interview with Boxing Social, and he said they took everybody's name at world level, but just not David's. Yeah. And I personally thought, I think they know that Avanesian's high risk, low reward, and they want more high reward, lower risk.
Yeah.
I love Amir Khan, right? But you can't say right now that he's more of a threat than David Avanesian, even though I think in his prime he was a way better fighter than Avanesian, and he would have beat Avanesian. But right now, you have to say that that Avanesian's more of a threat, and a guy that if Conor Benn wants to show that he's legitimately world level, because I know Eddie Hearn said that Amir Khan's top 15. I don't know how would you rank him in the top 15? He hasn't fought. How long has he fought for? And his last win was against Billy Dibb. He got beat by Sean Porter, which was ages ago. So I don't quite understand how you could put Amir Khan in the top 15 on what basis.
Yeah, to be honest with you, when I saw an interview afterwards and he was saying top 15, I think he knows deep down he's not like on current form. He's definitely not top 15 like because he's not fought for 2 years. But I think he's going by sort of like he's sort of putting his his pedigree in there. I think he's saying he's top 15 because he knows he's got pedigree. You know, Khan has. He's always going to have that experience behind him. He's always going to have the natural fast hands. But I think he's saying top 15. Well, he's just hyping it up in here as well. It's just, but I think, it's like I say, it's hard to know where to rank Khan. Really is, because we just don't know. We don't know what he's got left in tank. We don't know what his desire. Like I say, like on his reality show, he was saying all the right things. They almost like I'm feeling like, is he just wanting to fight a few more times just because he misses it more than that he really truly wants to do it? Because like I say, if he really truly wanted to do it, he'd be in the gym now working his ass off. But I think like I say, with Johnny Nelson and the Sky lot, they're just trying to hype it all as much as they can. I think that's what they're doing, and I honestly think if anyone can persuade Khan to fight Benn, maybe later this year, I think it would be Eddie Hearn, because I think he actually. I know they've had differences in the past, but I think Khan genuinely actually likes Eddie Hearn now. I think they get on quite well, and they're both businessmen. They've got that business mentality, and I think they both respect each other. Because I've heard Khan bigging Eddie Hearn up in interviews, and vice versa. Now Eddie Hearn bigging Khan up before an interview. So I think if anyone can persuade Khan to take the fight, and obviously anyone who can, and obviously Hearn can put the money on the table as well. He can put a deal in place. So I think it could be Eddie Hearn. But I think I don't know if I just lost where we're going with that then. But
no, it's all right.
The initial question was it again? I think I went off.
Yeah, it was basically. It's Phil. So I think you answered it. I think you answered the question. Benn could potentially be the stronger. Yeah, I think you said he beats Broner.
Oh, Broner, yeah. So I think. Do you know what? Broner's similar to Khan at the minute because he's been so inactive. We don't. Really, I know he fought recently, but he didn't look great. But we don't really know where he's at. Both from a desire point of view, and also from physical point of view. Is he training regular, and also just has he still got it? Because once you start getting into your early 30s. Like you're at your peak. I mean, I think you're into your fitness and stuff, are you? I've always been into it. Yeah. You're at your natural. I think people can peak at different times, and you can all add miles on the clock. But I think naturally you're at your physical prime years from like 25 to 31. Once you start getting past that point, especially after 30, inactivity kills you. Simple as that.
I've been into the gym, guys. Before we carry on, make sure to smash that like button. Everyone smash the like button. But so basically what I've noticed, because I was into the gym, that I've actually now started noticing as I'm getting older that actually it's getting very hard. I'm 28 and it should be, you normally say you're in your physical prime, but I've actually getting a lot more injuries now. When I was actually young, between 19 and 20, I was actually lifting very heavy and it was actually a lot easier than what it is now. And I'd assume that for boxers it would be even harder because like going to the gym and lifting weights is nothing compared to what they have to go through. Because I don't know if you see some of my interviews with Tony McKenzie, the former British.
Yeah, I've seen a few interviews with him.
He tells me that this training that we do in the gym is like a rest to me. Like, and imagine that was back in the day. You can imagine how tough it must be. But yeah, I just don't know. I don't in terms of Amir Khan, I just don't know. I don't know. Like when I saw him on the bag, it wasn't a good look for me. I don't know what he's got left, to be honest with you, and it's a shame because when you think about it, Richard, look at I know Pacquiao is one of the greatest of all time, and I'm a massive fan of Pacquiao as well, and you are as well. But the thing is with Pacquiao, like it's incredible how that man still at the age of what?
Is it 42? 41 now, is it? 42, 41, is it?
Yeah, exactly. 42. And they're talking about him fighting Crawford. And there's still people that think he can beat Crawford.
I know, it's mad. It's crazy. Just logic what he's doing. It really is. Like, it's just, I think it's a combination with him. He's just naturally, just a complete natural athlete. And he's all at the same time. He's always lived in the gym. I think even though he's got his political stuff and he don't fight as often, he's still always training as a gym rat. I mean, look at his calves. Like, that's where his power comes from. And his calves are just like, they're like Roberto Carlos, like bigger than Roberto Carlos' thighs.
Yeah.
I mean,
the guy.
Carlos in football back in the day.
Brazilian left back. Roberto Carlos was a beast. His free kicks. But yeah, getting back to so let's go to some of these comments. So Hamed Ali says, Honestly, in my opinion, Virgil Ortiz is a good prospect. Conor Benn is a good prospect. Why not make them two fight? Who would you favor in that fight? I personally would favor Virgil Ortiz. I think Virgil Ortiz is something very, very special. Although in his last fight, we did see a few weaknesses. Could be out of box. He's a bit flat-footed. I don't think he's ready for a Crawford, but in terms of Conor Benn, they're not going to put him in there with Virgil Ortiz. Come on.
No, to be honest with you, I'm not sure. And Ennis or Virgil Ortiz, Ennis and Virgil Ortiz are kind of like the ones from the other side of the pond who they're all
special.
Yeah, on this side, we're raving about Conor, in welterweight, raving about Conor Benn, and we were raving a bit, well, we were hoping we could be raving about Josh Kelly, but it didn't quite work out, obviously. But I think, I don't even think the Americans would put them in with Conor Benn. I just think that at the end of the day, the promoters want to build them. The hope is that they'll fight in the peaks. Really, I think they'll just all keep. I think that they're further ahead though. They're already beating former world champions. Hooker's a decent former world champion. And he took him apart. Really battered him, didn't he? At times, Hook, the way. It was a bit weird with Hooker though, didn't he? His hand broke or something. It was really bizarre.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I think it snapped, or I don't know what happened. He just kind of like.
It didn't look like a punch. I don't understand.
No.
Unless I don't know. Unless he was just beating him that much, I don't know. But that that Ennis as well. He's like, they've brought him on steadily. Ennis have not jumped him in too quick with anyone. But I think they're further ahead than Benn at the moment, to be honest. We need to see Benn against, like you say, Avanessi and someone like that, or Lipnitz, someone like that.
Richard, Ennis, he looks special. Like when I mean special. I saw, just so you can just tell when you see someone fight. You can just tell. Like literally, I saw a bit of Errol Spence in him. Like literally, like just dismissing the way he dismantled Lipnitz. It was like he battered him. He just like
he's tough, Lipnitz as well.
Obliterated him in 6 rounds.
Yeah.
He literally battered him. What a performance! I have to say, that guy looks like the real deal, real deal. And they're not putting Conor Benn in.
No way. Not at this stage. You know what I mean? Like once he's established, I think once all these up and coming ones are genuine, from this new generation, are established at world level, and they've all had couple of good wins, or maybe even got a belt each. I think that's when these fights will happen. I just think, there's no way they'll put Benn in with anyone like that. It's going to be, I think, like I said, they're going to have to put him in with someone like Evan, someone who's kind of like just maybe slightly past the peak, but world level operator, or was really world level, or someone who's big name and maybe past it. I think that's the sort of fight they'll put him in with next. Just to bring up his name, they might just put him in with a name who's, just to build him up that way commercially. Because they can see already he's got star power. Like I remember in the build up to against Vargas, because obviously Nigel Benn, his dad, used to train in Marbella, I think it was, back in his prime days. And I think he lived there for quite a long time as well, did Conor. I think that's where he learned Spanish, because he was speaking Spanish to Vargas before the fight, and it was like really good build up. It's like proper, it was just really really cool. It had all the Matchroom on the weigh-in, had all like the subtitles what he was saying. On the highlights. I just think he's got that star power as Conor Benn. I think they want to build him into a star, don't they? So they will pick the right fights for him, I feel. I don't think they'll put into too much risk too early. I don't think.
Yeah, it's too risky, isn't it? Too risky. Let me ask you another. Let's go through this. So, someone boxing fan G is asking, Richard, do you have a boxing page?
I don't have one. No, I just I have got a YouTube channel, but it's just all which mainly is for me is like a memory bank. So it's basically it's like, because I used to do a lot of running, marathons, and a lot of fitness stuff. I used to play a lot of football, and I'm really into rugby league as well. Like I've got and a bit of boxing training as well, just for fitness, nothing major. I've just got loads of videos, and I just have them for memories, really, just to look back on. Like I've got a few football games on there and stuff, just all amateur stuff. just from when I used to play a lot, and then a few races and stuff what I've had filmed on there. But I've not got a boxing channel, no, but I've got a sports Twitter, which you know about, RJ.
Yeah.
So my Twitter's at RJ Sports One, and I'm just constantly just posting stuff about boxing, rugby league, football, just my favourite sports, running.
Yeah.
And I've got a rugby league Twitter as well. And then just dedicated to rugby league. I'm just a mad sports fanatic.
Yeah.
Sports freak.
I've gone through your Twitter, and I've seen some of the stuff on there. Richard, I wanted to ask you. It's Burning Desires asking another question. He said Khan's achievements were at 140 pounds in Olympics. It's because they were so long ago. People forget.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, a lot of people forget. I feel a bit sorry for Khan in some ways in that sense, because he had such a long career and he did achieve so much so young. I mean, he was a unified world champion at 24, one of the youngest ever British world champions at 22, and probably in the world at the time. In fact, it was ESPN Prospect of the Year, which not many British fighters win that. ESPN Prospect of the Year, that was back in like 2008. And I just think, it all happened so young, but a lot of the maybe newer boxing fans now don't appreciate how good he was. That's what I feel. And they're probably going off what they saw against Crawford and stuff like that, and Vargas when he got knocked down. They're probably seeing the more recent stuff. I'm thinking, and maybe the Canelo knockout as well, the bad one. And I think they're just a lot of the younger fans. I feel sorry for Khan, because maybe that's another reason he doesn't always get the credit he deserves, because some of the younger fans are, may have been too young when they were achieving all of them. And boxing probably wasn't as mainstream in the UK at that time. Khan sort of brought it back into the mainstream. Lottery funding from when he did, got Olympics. But, he's created a legacy for British boxing in many ways. And he went to America really early. Back then, like Ricky Hatton and fighters like that. Who else off the top of my head? Like Joe Calzaghe, like a lot of them, like Carl Fox, who were fighting in America later in the career. Even Prince Nazim, he went a bit later in his career to America, really. And a lot of them, a lot of the British fighters back then never went really early, and he went ridiculously young. I think his first fight over there was like 20, 22, 23. It's unheard of, really. You don't get many, maybe on undercards, but you don't get many British fighters taking on the elite in America in their own backyard. Where, let's be honest, even though I do feel like American boxing is becoming more niche over there, it's not the mainstream like it once was. It's still it's like the mecca of boxing, isn't it, really? For elite level is America.
Good points, Richard. I totally agree with you. Richard Brown says Khan is a British boxing legend. What do you make of that statement?
Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, definitely. I just think, like I say, I think he'll be appreciated more when he's fully retired after a couple of years. And people now are missing Khan fights. He's just been pure box office his whole career. Partly because of his vulnerability as well. But the thing is, one thing I used to love about Khan, when he was in his prime, he'd always throw the last punch of the round, and he'd always throw wrong way around. He'd always throw the first punch of the round, and he'd always throw the last punch of the round. And he'd always be the most active fighter in every round. Obviously, and most rounds he'd win. Really, even if it was just off work rate, because he's throwing more punches. And I just think, like, back in the day as well, he'd get involved in exchanges when he probably could have played it safe. And I think he even said himself around the Peterson time, Garcia time, when he had those two defeats, he said that the first few fights with Freddie Roach, first 3 or 4 fights, he were fighting to the game plan, sticking to the game plan, and the results were coming, or the fruition, the results were coming from it. But then he said he started wanting to please the crowd. He said he wanted to put on a show for the American fans, and he said he probably lost his way a little bit. I've seen in some previous interviews from years ago. He said basically he almost started fighting more for the entertainment, trying to entertain the fans and put on a show. Like he used to do this a lot. If he got tagged, he'd put his hands up like that. I think Pacquiao used to do that sometimes. He used to do his own little thing, to say, I'm all right, that didn't hurt, and he used to do a lot of kidology and all this at one point, Khan. And I think that's around the time when he started getting caught again a little bit and not sticking to game plans, but which were entertainment at the end of the day. Like that Garcia fight only lasted 4 rounds, but bloody hell. What a fight.
That was one of the, I know when those type of fights don't go your way, it's not great, but it was definitely
People remember it. People remember that. Still talk about that Garcia fight. You know, everyone were buzzed for it. Even talking about it for weeks after it. You know, the people still talk about it now. I remember the Garcia knockout, and he was fighting on wobbly legs. You know what I mean? It's like people love it. The Maidana one, he literally fighting on wobbly legs. I remember the commentators were like, too much too much heart, and all this one. And fighting on wobbly legs, and it's just excitement, and you know, it gives you a buzz.
In my opinion, you know what? That Danny Garcia fight hurts his legacy a lot. I personally think that the Lamont Peterson fight, I think a lot of people thought he won that fight. So a lot of people
kind of sweep it under the carpet. Khan got done over there. We all know that.
Yeah. In terms of the Garcia fight, I think that really hurts his legacy, because Garcia for me was a guy that went on to achieve good things after that. Even though I think he was very lucky, because I thought he lost to Peterson and Herrera after that, and I think he got gift decisions.
Yeah,
Garcia.
the Peterson one were really well. The both on the Herrera one really. They were pretty, I think Herrera won. A lot of people thought he lost that one. To be fair.
Yeah. And for me personally, I think that one hurts his legacy, because I think he lost to a fighter he shouldn't have lost to. Crawford, Canelo, they're probably all time. They're probably going to go down as like all-time greats. I know Crawford's resume is a bit iffy, but I think he's going to go down as an all-time. I think he's special. I think Crawford is a special fighter.
I agree.
What do you make of it? What do you make of his loss to Garcia?
Yeah, to be honest with you, like, I mean, at the time, I was absolutely devastated. To be honest with you, like, say, I'm a massive Khan fan. And, you know, I've always been sort of emotionally involved. You know, your heart's on a knife edge with him, especially with his vulnerability when and stuff. I was always, you know, it's
horrible, mate. It's horrible. I can't tell you that Maidana fight. I felt like I aged 2-3 years in that fight. That was a horrible watch, mate. Don't get me wrong, Maidana. If you were a Mayweather fan, that Mayweather fight must have been horrible as well, because that was a terrible fight for Mayweather. It was.
Like that first one, I think he gave Mayweather nightmares. He was just relentless, wasn't he? He wasn't necessarily catching him clean, but he was absolutely hounding him, wasn't he? And Mayweather, to his credit, he did start sort of, he adapted, didn't he? And I think later on, it was a very close fight, but I think he just slightly pulled it out of the bag later on. But I mean, he gave him nightmares. And second fight, even though Floyd kind of controlled it and sort of learned from the first fight, I think he still give him some more. I think he lost a tooth in one of the rounds, didn't he, Mayweather? If you watch back on the second fight with Maidana hit him just on bell when he saw a tooth fly out.
Yeah. That was PG saying, I've seen his comment in the chat. PG saying, before British boxing wasn't dead before Khan. You heard of Ricky Hatton? I think you mentioned Ricky. You mentioned Ricky Hatton, but Ricky Hatton retired, and then what? I'm pretty sure, Richard, you mentioned Ricky Hatton, and then after Ricky Hatton, there was nobody, right?
Yeah, I think what happened. What when I say dead, what I mean is like I think boxing in the UK, it wasn't dead. Definitely wasn't dead. You know, it's an hardcore sport. It's a niche sport as well that will always have hardcore fans. Is boxing, you know, a bit like, I mean, let's be honest. In the UK, there's only one true national sport, which is football. It's just popular all over the UK. It's the number one game. But a lot of the other sports, you know, it can chop and change a little bit, like rugby league, rugby union, football. You know, athletics. You know, they all chop and change. Boxing, but cricket as well. You know, they have ups and downs, but football's always number one. But I think with boxing, I think in the 90s, you know, ITV had in the UK had a presence on terrestrial TV, and it was open to the masses. You know, that's why you had superstars, you know, like Nigel Benn and Chris Eubank, you know, Frank Bruno, and then Lennox Lewis were a bit more fighting more in America, wasn't he? And I think he was more on Sky. But like, I think when Sky really took hold of the boxing, and ITV, terrestrial TV, didn't have much hold on boxing anymore, I do think it kind of went a little bit niche in this country, boxing. And obviously you had crossover stars like Ricky Hatton. He was, you know, he was a superstar, you know, he really was. And like he was carrying British boxing on his back for a good few years in terms of, like, you know, in terms of popularity.
He was like, I always say that Ricky almost had like a cult like following, like in the sense that like if you like this, like some of his fans, some of his real hardcore fans were really delusional. Like some of them still believe that he got hard done by against Mayweather. Like if he would have beat Mayweather if it wasn't for the referee. It's like he's got really like a real hardcore fan base. Like, you know, like really like some of them of his fans think he was better than Calzaghe and you know, like think he was the greatest fighter ever. Like some of his fans are really, but he's a good. Don't get me wrong. Ricky Hatton was a great fighter in the sense that I think like he was, even though he was a guy that, in my opinion, was kind of one-dimensional, like Freddie Roach said, he made that one-dimensional style work, and for me, world class. You know, genuine world class, and I think he was a similar level of type of fighter of Khan. I know he's more popular in the UK than Khan, and people love him a lot more. But in terms of like level, I think they were both world class.
Yeah.
But I think against the top boys, like the top pound for pounders, right? I think they would have come up short. That's my opinion.
I agree with you, Alex. I think Ricky Hatton and Khan was really in the primes, and I mean they're completely different boxers, so it's hard to compare. Completely different styles, but I think like I said, Ricky Hatton, he had like a cult following to begin with, like you say, and then I think it developed into like a nationwide. Like everybody, you know, a bit like how big Joshua is now. If social media was around when Hatton was in his prime, like I think it would just stop starting then. But if just social media was around then, he'd have like 20 million followers. You know, because he could relate to the, you know, I mean the times have changed now, but he related to like everybody on the street. You know what I mean? Whereas I think now boxing stars are built from like, I don't know, it's just a completely different world now with social media. But I just think boxing over the last, I think when I say with Khan in terms of, but what he did was in the Olympics, the boxing, it was unheard of really to get British boxers winning gold medals or silver medals or whatever in medals in the Olympics back then, you know. And from him doing that, it brought more lottery funding, because I don't think boxing was lottery funded before Khan won the silver medal. So it's created a legacy in that sense that, you know, there's all the, look how many British fighters we have now going into Olympics, and I know they don't all win medals, but, you know, they're all, you know, we're getting that reputation in amateur boxing now as Britain, you know. But I think, I just think the way boxing's going now in this country, in the UK, it's just becoming mainstream again. I just think boxing's like booming, to be honest with you, over here, and I think social media's helped with that, and like YouTube and stuff, and like fighters are accessible, aren't they? Because they can just get an interview on YouTube. I mean, you don't get like many active footballers doing anything like that. You know, it's all interviews on TV. So that's why boxing can relate to more in touch with fans, and I think it's helping boxing. You know, and it's becoming more mainstream again.
Footballers don't really need to improve their profile, though. They don't really care about that. With boxers, you got to sell tickets. You got to get yourself out there. Richard, I wanted to ask you a question. If Amir Khan in his prime had fought Ricky Hatton, I saw someone actually, you know, the thing that Benn stuff was being talked about, and I saw a boxing TV on Facebook actually put up who wins in their primes, Amir Khan, and I was like, what a time to put it up when all this Benn talk. If they had fought prime for prime, who do you think wins that?
Yeah, do you know what? It's an interesting one, because like we have to think, when was Hatton really at his prime? I feel like when Hatton was at the height of his popularity, I'd say in terms of his boxing career itself and performance, I'd say probably Costa Zoo. But when you look at his, like, you know, when he developed all this massive casual following, eventually Ricky Hatton, he probably won when he like fought Malignaggi and he had like 50,000 at Manchester Stadium, at Etihad Stadium. He probably won. He was still great, good fighter, world class. He won world title, didn't he? But I don't think that was his peak of his career when he was at peak of his popularity. I think peak of his career, like you say, the Costa Zoo fight, and he kind of made Costa Zoo quit on his stool. I know Costa Zoo were coming to the back end, but I think only a few fights before him, he'd beaten back then a Zab Judah that was legit, you know, back then legit, like elite fighter, and he was seen as a pound for pounder at that time. But and when you look at prime Khan, it's difficult because was Khan at his prime when he fought, like when he beat Collazo and Alexander, which I kind of feel like he really was, but he never really got to prove it against the right fighter. And then if you look at or was it his peak when he sort of beat Zab Judah?
Yeah.
I know a lot of people say, "Oh, Zab Judah passed it," but he was a world champion, and he went on to give Danny Garcia a great fight a couple of years later. People forget that. And
he was coming off a win against Matisse.
Matisse. Yeah, that's
it. He was a monster.
Did he beat Malignaggi, or he had a good fight with Malignaggi back in?
That was when Judah was really done. Like he lost to Malignaggi, but that was like when Judah was really done. Like when he fought Khan, Judah was coming off a win against Lucas Matisse. But you know what? When I speak to people, because a lot of people say Judah was past his best, I was like, mate, do you know who Lucas Matisse is? Lucas Matisse and Marcus Maidana were two of the biggest punchers.
Yeah.
At that time, like they were feared. Like Peterson, I mean,
Peterson, didn't he?
Yeah, he flattened him, didn't he?
Yeah. I remember watching that live. Yeah, everyone but all commentators were buzzing off it. Like, yeah, because I think that they were talking about then Danny Garcia and Matisse, weren't they? I think that was it. And then even Khan were there. He was ringside.
Yeah, he was there.
He was saying, I'm fighting.
Yeah. And I think he had been knocked out by. I think at that point he probably had been knocked out. But I think Khan would have fought anyone. Khan fought Maidana, who I believe was better than Matisse, to be honest. Yeah. I think Matisse was a big puncher. I think Maidana was a guy that would pressure you, and actually he was honestly, Maidana is one of my favorite fighters as well. What a fighter.
He was great to watch, wasn't he?
He was great. He was just unorthodox. The way he absolutely dismantled Broner.
Them overhand rights, they were just like relentless with him.
Yeah. And he was a great chin. He was just one of the Maidana was a special fighter,
and his heart as well. When he went down off that body shot from Khan, you could tell that he was crippled in pain. And how he got
that was honestly, Richard. I don't know what you think, but that was probably one of the best fights I ever saw.
I agree. Well, to be honest with you, that fight was what put me back in love with boxing again, because I kind of were falling out of love with it a little bit for a few years. It happens, other things going on in life and stuff, and then I thought, I watched that fight on early hours, and I just loved it, and I got that buzz back again. Obviously, I was a big Khan fan, that's why I was watching it. But I would probably want hardcore at that time, probably around about late noughties, and I had other things going on in my life, and I want a hardcore fan at that point. But it was that fight that really got me back in it big time, and then I just quickly developed back into being a hardcore fan again and never looked back. But yeah, that fight was unbelievable, and yeah, he's just like, I've watched it back loads of times. I might be due a watch of it soon, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, the question was
Ricky Hatton and Amir Khan.
Yeah, prime. I guess I felt like Ricky Hatton was actually at his best at light welterweight, but then again Khan was, I guess. So maybe if we go Khan who beat Zab Judah, and if we go the Hatton that beat Costa Zeus, so that would be prime for prime, them two at light welterweight. It's just, I don't think Hatton had really huge power at world level, but he could hurt you. But I think, but he was more of a body puncher. And to be honest with you, people don't pick up on this enough, but Khan, he takes body shots, like, he can take a body shot. Canelo was hitting him with some brutal body shots, and he just takes them. Because when he gets in, generally, especially in his peak, when he got himself into peak condition, he just looked, around that area, Khan, he just looked, there was not an ounce of body fat, and when I've seen him being hit with body shots, he just takes him. It's like he's got poker face. I don't know how he does it. The way he takes a body shot's unbelievable. But and obviously Ricky Hatton's known for his body shot. That's his best punch. But I just think the thing is with Khan, he did struggle with pressure fighters. Sorry. But I think it's like, I think it's a certain type of fighter that Khan struggles with, more of a boxer puncher. Like a Garcia who can box a little bit, to an extent, but he can punch, and them type of fighters. Whereas, and like a Canelo, he's a boxer puncher, I guess, in some ways, and then he's an all rounder really. But you know what I mean. And then, but if you look at when Khan's fought just out and out pressure fighters, Generally, he's beaten them by unanimous decision by massive massive scorecards. I mean, look at, like, for example, Calazo, when he was on a roll at the time. He'd knocked out Victor Ortiz, and he was still seen as a world level fighter at the time. And he fought against Khan. He was trying to be pressure fighting him, and Khan just ran rings around him, basically just kept him on end of jab, and he absolutely, that one of Khan's best performances. But the thing is, what I think a lot of these fighters used to make a mistake is, even you used to get a lot of fighters who were generally boxers trying to find that one punch to knock him out. And the trouble is with Khan, he used to just do enough to win most rounds, and before you know it, you're 5, 6, 7 rounds down. You've not got him with that one punch, what you wanted to get him with, and really hurt him or wobble him. And then Khan just runs away with it with UD, just demoralises. That's how if you look at him. But I think with Ricky Hatton, he would have got to him at times. But I think Khan had just kept him at range, because he was quite tall, Khan, for like welterweight. And Ricky Hatton was actually quite small. He's quite a bit smaller than Khan, I think, in height. And then I just think I think Khan had just used his legs and kept him at bay, and then put the pressure on when he needed to, hit him with some. I don't know. It's a really tough one, because he had a proper granite chin, really, generally. Yeah. And I know he only got, knocked out Mayweather.
And Senchenko was really
well past it.
I
mean, the biggest win for Hatton then was just getting back in the ring after all the issues he'd had out of the ring. That was like his biggest battle, getting back in the ring. But I like to say, he won Ricky Hatton. He'd never. I don't know. You know what? It's a really difficult one. I think I edged to Khan just because of his boxing ability, and I think you know what, with his jab as well in his prime, Khan had a great jab and a good one too. And Ricky Hatton used to cut up on his. He used to get a lot of cuts here, didn't he? And he used to get a bit of bruising under his eye. Maybe that could affect him. I don't know, but I'd say 55-45 in Khan's favour. We were a very close fight, I think, in the prime. But then again, nothing was stopping Ricky Hatton on that day against Costa Zoo. So if that's a prime Hatton.
Yeah. Richard Brown's asking, what's Richard's thoughts on BJS v Canelo and Liam Williams v Andrade?
Yeah, that's a good one, actually. To answer you, I'm really looking forward to the Billy Joe one. Really, I'm like, I think, you know what, the thing is with Billy Joe, again, inactivity. It just worries me. I know he's an unbelievably slick boxer, and he's got all the skills in the world, but how's he going to handle the Canelo pressure after like 5 or 6 rounds? When he's not had them tough fights. Not for a long time. I think for the first 4 or 5 rounds, especially the first 3-4 rounds, I think Billy Joe looks sensational. I do. I think he'll look slick. I think he'll be boxing real well, and then naturally he'll probably slow down a little bit middle rounds, because there's always been a question mark about Billy Joe's fitness. But I reckon for this he'll go in 100%. I think he'll be, I've seen a couple of photos of him actually. He looks trimmest. I've seen him in, he's chiseled, and he's not always got that look, has he, Billy Joe? And he looks. I've seen a couple of photos that's flown about, and it looks like he's really taking it serious. And I just worry about just the inactivity, that it might start affecting him later on in the fight, and Canelo will get to him. But I think he'll look great early on, I really do. And I think he'll pose problems that Canelo's not experienced before, because he's not on his southpaw, he's unorthodox as well, And I think it'll cause Canelo some big problems. Canelo's last few fights have been a bit tailor-made for him, I feel, a little bit. Even though he's beaten all these big, don't get me wrong, apart from the last one, obviously that was mandatory, but against Yildirim. But before that, Callum Smith. I'm a bit disappointed with Callum Smith. I thought he were gonna give him a bit of a better fight, but maybe Callum Smith wasn't as good as everyone thought he was, just because he was. Maybe I don't know, but I was just disappointed.
I think Billy will. I think Billy will bring. I think Billy will bring it. I just think that I just think Canelo's a monster right now. Honestly, I don't think you can pick. I don't think anyone could pick. I honestly think he would beat Beterbiev. A lot of people think I'm hating on Billy Joe Saunders, and some of my videos. I don't know if you've seen the comments in the comment section. I have fans having a go at me. It's not literally. I don't hate on Billy Joe Saunders. It's the fact that I just think Canelo would beat Beterbiev. Honestly, I think Canelo is an animal right now. Like literally,
I agree with you. He's absolute. I mean, he's been gradually getting better and better over the last like so many years. But now, I think he's started hitting his sort of start of his peak about probably around the time when he fought Khan. I think that was the start of his sort of peak reign, and he's just got better and better and better. And I just like saying now he's at his absolute peak, and I just think I agree with you. It's just nothing seems to hurt him. You know, like he gets caught with, if he ever gets caught with a shot, it just doesn't affect him. I just like even Golovkin hit him like a couple of years ago when they were fighting. Like Golovkin hit him with kitchen sink, and he just didn't seem. Well, I know he went in Golovkin with kitchen sink, and he didn't affect him either. But I just think he is as a monster, and he's just got so many assets to his game now. He's a sponge. You can tell that he just learns. He just every single fight will pick new things up, and you can tell he's a gym rat. You know, he's just constantly learning his craft, and he's it's unbelievable how good he's got. But yeah, it's just I'm just really excited because I know Billy Joe will give him it'll be an entertaining fight with Billy Joe. Right, and I think Billy Joe looked great for so many rounds. Then I think it'll get tough. I think Canelo, when it slows down a bit, Canelo will get to him, and then we'll see if Billy Joe really, can back up what he's saying. That's when we'll find out for sure. I mean, it's beaten good. I mean, I don't think Billy Joe's resume is as bad as it's made out. But I just think recently it's not been good. But back, like Andy Lee, I know he was coming to the back end of his career, but he was world champion at the time, Andy Lee, and he won that title from him, and it was a good win with that, to be fair. And obviously he beat Chris Eubank Jr., but I feel like with that one, after 6 rounds, he wanted his fittest. I don't think Billy Joe then. And then but he made Chris Eubank Jr. look silly at times in that fight early on, like first 6 rounds, and last 6 rounds, he just seemed to slow down. And who was it? We're getting to him with them uppercuts. Chris Eubank Jr. because his fitness is ridiculous. It's like something special. His fitness levels.
I don't know what you think, Richard, but I'm struggling to see Billy Joe making the 12. I'm struggling to see Billy Joe make the final bell in the sense that I just think Canelo's going to be hitting him with a lot of body shots, slowing him down, water in the basement. And I don't know whether Billy Joe's going to be able to take that fire and heat, Callum Smith went into survival mode. If you watch that fight, he was getting badly busted up, and you could tell from the state of his face he was in a mess.
His arm was bad as well because he was targeting because he knew that that was his best shot, and he kept getting he kept hitting his arm, wasn't he? And then he said to him, Callum Smith said later in the fight, Canelo said, "Does it hurt?" And he was like winding him up, basically telling him in the 11th round, "I've been targeting your arm." Apparently, and they both laughed at each other in the ring, but it's like it's clever. That's clever work because it took away his biggest weapon. I mean, his arm was awful afterwards. His bicep out here. He'd just been constantly hitting his bicep. But yeah, I think he'll target the body. You're right. He'll target Billy Joe's body 100% because he knows Billy Joe's not always been in the best condition in the past, really, at times in his career. And I think he'll think it's a weakness, and I think and like I said, Billy Joe's not had that type of pressure put on him before, so this is where we'll find out. Without having said that, Billy Joe's one of them that fights to the level of his opposition a bit, I think, sometimes. Like when he has looked a bit lackluster in some performances, it's almost like he just does enough to win rather than, he kind of, a bit like Tyson Fury sometimes in his career, he's kind of gone down to the level of his opposition, Fury. But when he fights the elite Tyson Fury, that's when you see the real Tyson Fury, when he fights the elite fighters.
Yeah, I definitely agree. If some questions coming in, Richard. Zachariah Khan says, who do you think wins this? Marcus Maidana v. Conor Benn, the old Maidana. I'll go first, and then Richard, you give your opinion. Come on, man. How can you ask a question like that? Maidana was an absolute animal. Like, Ben's not done enough for me to say that he could beat someone like that. Like, I'm saying Maidana for me could beat Terence Crawford. Maidana for me could beat Spence. He was that kind of. And when you look at the Porter Spence fight, right, and you see how much Porter gave him trouble, imagine a bigger puncher like Maidana coming at him. Imagine how much trouble he would have.
Concussive punches as well from Maidana. The concussive. You see, fights that just the wobble all like. Cause the thing as well, because of the type of shots he throws, them looping overhand rights, he catches them around there a lot of his fighters, and that's when your equilibrium goes, and the senses are there, but there's no communication between the legs and the brain. So they're trying to stand and they're just gone. Like, it's I just think I agree with you. I think especially maybe Conor Benn might develop into something we don't know yet, but at this stage, definitely Pete Maidana, an animal, like you say, with relentless and the power and pace as well that he could do it at.
Yeah, he was a different. I know, so he got beat early on, but a lot of these guys, what people don't understand is they weren't A-side fighters. Maidana wasn't an A-side fighter. He wasn't always the politically connected fighter. Like, he was a guy that came up hard.
Yeah, it's true.
He's like a street fighter. They didn't think that this is a guy that caved out a very good career for himself when he wasn't really expected. He was a street fighter and tough guy. But yeah, he was a warrior. He was a proper what you would say was Tyson would say a proper fighting man.
Yeah, exactly.
He was a proper fighting man.
It's a shame that he kind of petered out after Mayweather. I think he lost the desire. He had all that money. He had a lot of fights. Because as much as he's given it, he's taken a lot of punishment as well. I think Maidana.
Yeah, he has. Yeah,
because he always took one to give one a bit.
Yeah. But
a lot of them type of fighters are, once they get to the 30s, miles on the clock, it's too much for him. And he tried to come back, but he just couldn't get his rhythm back. He said himself.
I think he retired too premature, though. I still think he was in his prime years when he retired.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
I don't think he was that done at that point. When you look at his two performances against Mayweather, I thought he was still there. But I just think Maidana, like you said, I think he made the money and he thought, I can't be asked with this. It's too hard. It's too hard getting punched in the face, and he just thought, it's sad. Some of these guys like Khan, Maidana, it would have been brilliant, for them to. But I actually think Maidana, like against Kell Brook, would have been an unbelievable fight.
That'd have been amazing. Yeah, I'd love to have seen that. I'd love to have seen it. There's so many fights I'd love to see Brook have, and it just never materialised. Or for it just there were them like sort of weak defences that he had after he beat Porter, and it was just a shame because there were at the time there were loads of talk of him fighting Vargas, not Sammy Vargas, the Jesse Vargas. That's it.
Yeah.
There were a lot of talk of him fighting him at one point. I think he had a title actually, Jesse Vargas, and they were going to have a unification fight, and then Jesse Vargas. Brook didn't end up fighting him, and Jesse Vargas ended up fighting Tim Bradley, or was it Pacquiao? Pacquiao, yeah. And because I think he was with Top Rank, but like Hearn were trying to make him for whatever reason. I don't know why it didn't happen, but that would have been a good fight. But there were loads of other fights Brook could have had, and like Brook Thurman would have been a good one.
Oh, what a fight! Brook, for me, Richard, was a really wasted talent, like in the sense that. I know the stuff with Khan and Brook and the Khan fans like thing, but really when I made a video and I'm actually going to upload that tomorrow. That I actually think that Khan and Brook both underachieved a little. Brook definitely underachieved, and I think Khan had a great stellar career, but I think Khan had the talent and ability, and maybe Brook, but Brook his left. We didn't see to this day. I don't know how good Brook is. Yeah. I don't know how good Brook is. I don't know where he's at. I don't know. Even though he's fought Crawford, but he fought guys like Crawford, Spence. They're really, really good. Like we're talking Golovkin. That was a stupid fight.
And he were kind of damaged goods as well. I feel when he fought after the GGG fight, he were kind of damaged goods a little bit with the eye injuries, and I don't think he were quite the same after that really. And I think it's a shame, like you say, because we never saw the best of him and never saw him have them. I think the sad thing is, aside from them both fighting each other, I think Khan's issue is that he was chasing the Mayweather fight for that long. he missed out on other big fights when he could have carved his own legacy instead of chasing, which I get why we're chasing Floyd, and he wanted to test himself against the best. He wanted his name up on the lights, which he can get. But I think, and I think style-wise, he knew he had a style that could cause Mayweather a different type of problem to what a lot of other fighters have done. But I just think, you know, because when you look, he waited out for Mayweather. Sorry, he was on the verge of fighting Devon Alexander. He was literally signed almost, because he was still with Golden Boy then. And Alexander was world champion, and that was before Alexander got beat by Porter. If they fought him then, Khan
would have been welterweight world champ.
Exactly, and I mean, maybe Khan, I don't know, maybe it might have gone against him, but I think Khan would have beat him just anyway because of his style. But he was always going to beat a boxer at that point in his career. And what's his name? Alexander didn't have massive power really, did he? But I think, but then he held out to the fight we were getting Mayweather. Then Mayweather said no. He put the poll up. Even though Khan won the poll, he ended up fighting Maidana. And then he said to Khan, if you fight on the undercard, like chief support, which he did against Collazo, and you beat Collazo, I'll fight you. And then obviously that happened, and then he ended up having the rematch with Maidana because the rematch was warranted really for what happened in that fight. And then Khan ended up fighting Alexander a year later than when he would have done originally if he hadn't been waiting for Mayweather. I mean, he'd have had more to bring to the table if he'd have beaten Alexander when he should have fought him. He'd have had more, you know, he'd have had a world title. You know. But then Brook could have ended up being his mandatory for
me. It would have been great. Yeah. It would have been great. You know what? I honestly feel that Khan made a huge mistake there. That he should have taken the Alexander fight when he was world champion. I think when I look back at some of Amir Khan's moves, it's very frustrating. But Brook, coming back to Brook, like he literally, I think basically my overall point is that I think Khan could have been a legend in terms of like boxing, like just period. I think he had the talent. I think Brook could have definitely done a lot more, maybe become a legend as well. Who knows? But unfortunately, both guys probably were a bit ill-disciplined. Amir obviously got involved. He did the charity work, and then there was obviously chaos in his life. And Brook his issues were well documented about the ill-discipline and stuff. So they're blowing up in weight, and yeah, it's sad really because I made a video about Conor Benn. Like, couldn't Conor Benn surpass these guys? One thing for Conor Benn, one thing we've got to say, he's a gym rat, and he ain't gonna be ill-disciplined like some of these were. So we don't know what his ceiling is now. He's improved so much. You don't know what he could become.
Exactly. No, you're right. Yeah. I mean, that's it. If you're dedicated to that level, you know, and he's showing this blunt. Because Eddie Hearn was saying in the interview, I don't believe you had the natural talent as such, but you've now got the talent from your hard work. And it's like if he keeps pushing, you know, I don't think he even needs to be massively rushed. To be fair, Ben either, you know, he's only 24 still. But I just think, we don't know how high his ceiling could be. It's exciting, really, because for quite a number of years now we haven't had any. Because let's be honest, the welterweight, light welterweight, lightweights, them sort of divisions, light middleweights, they're the exciting divisions there where the American talent's really sort of thick. You know, there's a lot of talent, and I think we haven't had any British up and coming ones come through now until around this time. Who's, you know, it's exciting now. We've got like Conor Benn, who's, you know, explosive, and he's got that sort of character about him as well, and he's got that star potential. And like I say, Josh Kelly, even though it didn't work out for him against Avanessi, and is exciting and stuff. And it's good, you know, for quite a few years we haven't had any, you know, we just had Khan and Brook. We didn't really have anyone else coming through. So it's exciting now, and we don't know, like I say, what the ceiling will be for Ben, but it's exciting to see it unfold, like going forward.
What's your take on Joshua Fury?
Yeah, to be honest, it's starting to wind me up a bit because it's like, when's it gonna get announced? And you know, like I think Tyson Fury's already. I think it's definitely happening. Tyson Fury's already started out mind games, like he almost like putting little things out there. I think he put an old video out what people thought were new of him jumping into Morecambe Sea with his top off, and everyone was saying, oh, he looked out of shape and everything. But apparently, it's come out now that it were an old video, and at the time, everyone thought it was like a recent one. But no, he's already started with mind games, and he was going on about 10 pints lager a day and all this lot. And he's just, I've seen some of his interviews, and you know what it's like. He contradicts himself so much. He'll say one thing in one interview, something completely different in another, and it's just all mind games. But first of all, the build-up, once it gets announced, I think it's going to be amazing. You know what Fury's like, and he just sort of winds up the opposition, like with Wilder. He proper got in Wilder's head, calling him Big Dosser and all this sort of spaghetti legs, and sort of winding him up. And I think with Joshua, he's going to go on like the pumped-up weightlifter stuff, and he's going to wind him up with all that. And I think I just think the build-up's going to be amazing. And then once the fight comes, I mean, obviously we don't know where it's going to be yet. I've got a feeling they might end up signing, like, I think it is a 2-fight deal actually. Apparently,
it is.
So like I can see the first one. I just think with everything that's going on with COVID and probably not going to get too many fans into Wembley, first one will probably be in Middle East, I reckon, where the money is, and then or even maybe America, because they can get big crowds over there now, can't they? But I'm not sure it's got as much appeal in America as what we think. To be honest with you, with the hardcores, it does. But I think so. I think the first one will be in probably Middle East, and the second one will be at Wembley maybe next year when the crowds can come back in. Big, like 100,000, they can put in some extra seats in there to make it 100,000. But I think, do you know what? I keep changing my mind. I genuinely love both of them for completely different reasons. I've got like Tyson Fury's autobiography, which I'm in the process of still reading. I've got like Anthony Joshua book, a couple of different things. It's not like an autobiography; it's like an annual of his career and stuff so far, but. I followed them both from day one, and I love them both for the completely different characters, love them both for completely different reasons. But I just think the styles are going to match so well in this fight, and I actually think the thing is with Fury, I know he can fight so many different ways, and but one thing that concerns me about Fury against Joshua. I know he's good at it and he's got away with it, but when he's doing all this messing about, putting his hands behind back like Roy Jones and doing all this and all this kidology that he does and arsing around and trying to sort of do, keeping his opponents at bay like that, I just think Joshua's will catch him at some point. I think if he messes about like that a little bit, which he does, he does mess about a little bit in fights. He was doing it against Wilder a little bit, wasn't he? Especially in the first fight against Wilder, he was messing about early on a bit. Putting his hands down. I just think Joshua could hurt him at some point. I think there's going to be times when he will take some clean shots off Joshua, and it's how he takes them, because they can both go down. We've seen it. They can both get back up. We've seen that. It's going to be really interesting. A lot of people are actually going for Fury knockout, I've noticed.
Yeah.
And I can see why, because Joshua's not got that same. After the Ruiz, the first one, his hands looked a bit fragile. Like when he boxed Ruiz in the second one, every time he got caught, he was a bit like weirdly, like one about Khan fights. You get you right in your chest. It was a bit like that against Ruiz in Ruiz rematch. I was feeling like that way with Joshua. Every time he got like caught a little bit in exchanges, it just looked a little bit hesitant and fragile a little bit. And I'm like, whoa, is he gonna wobble here or something? And he obviously boxed well and just kept to his boxing, but. Against Pulev, he's kind of giving me some of that confidence back, that he's getting back to his old self, confidence-wise. But we've got to look at it again. Pulev were old in there, really. Pulev hadn't been active, really, for a few years, not very active. So, I mean, it was great. I thought it was a great performance, to be fair, by Joshua in that. He could have had him earlier on in the third round, and he just got. I think he got saved by Bell, didn't he? Did Pulev, and then but the finish were unbelievable. I thought were right. Great punch for that to end it in. We're at 7 rounds now. I can't remember now.
11, yeah.
Oh, was it later on than that? But yeah. Do you know what? At the moment, I'm swaying a little bit more to Fury, just because he's proven it at that. I mean, they're both proven at elite level, but I just think Fury just seems to rise to the occasion every single time when he's been asked to, and I think he looks motivated. I've seen a few more photos recently, and that came out, and he looks like he's in really good shape. They both do. Like Joshua looks in great shape. I just think this is the best time for it to happen, because they're both at the peaks. I feel like they're both at the peaks of their career, and I can just. I think it's pretty 50-50 fight, but I do sway more towards Fury. But I think too many people are counting out Joshua for me. But I think people's opinions will sway back and forth a lot until it happens, to be honest. What do you reckon?
I've got Fury, to be honest. I think he's too versatile. I think he's too skillful, and I think he's bigger. He's got all the physical advantages. True. I think he'll wear Anthony Joshua down. I think he'll wear him down, and I think he'll box early on. I think he'll box, and then he'll employ the Wilder tactic after 6 rounds, and he'll start sticking it on when he sees AJ gets tired. I think AJ, for me, it's not the fact that he hasn't got a great chin. That's not the issue. I think it's how he recovers from getting hit. Like sometimes when he gets hit, it takes him ages to recover. And I think if Fury senses he's tired, or he's got hurt, Fury will sense that.
Yeah.
Fury will press the action. I just don't see him letting Joshua off the hook. I don't think he would let him off the hook, and I think personally, I think he's going to stop him late, personally. But
yeah, to be honest with you, I think that's I like your theory there, actually. Especially with, I do think you're right. I think he might box early on, a little bit more on the cautious side, and box, and then I think traditionally we all do know that Joshua does tend to start fading mid to late rounds. He's gassed himself out a few times. Maybe not as much now. He seems a bit more controlled with it, but he seems to be a bit learned from his experience. But in his early, when he fought Klitschko, he completely gassed himself out. Then he got caught, didn't he, after knocking Klitschko down. But I mean, that was an amazing fight, but that really was entertaining. But I think you could be right there, because I think Fury, he'll probably mix it up a little bit, but I think mid-round he might start putting it on him when Joshua just loses a little bit of that, that early sort of explosiveness. But I think the thing, I can see it from both sides. I just think sometimes Fury needs to be on the ball with him, because I think he could get caught with a couple of big. Because Joshua was a good finisher, and if he does catch him at some point, Joshua will go all out to finish him. And but then again, like I say, Fury, he'll just later on in fight, he'll lean all over him. All these, like what he did with Wilder in second fight, his tactics were just perfect. I think it's intriguing. I think, like I said, I just think Joshua's getting counted out a little bit too early, but by a lot of people. But to be fair, going off recent performances, I've got to say it's Fury's favourite. To be fair, I just think it's a bit. I just think style makes fights, and I think at some point Fury will get caught flush at some point. I don't think he'll just avoid his. Like some people think he'll just outbox him and avoid all his punches all fight. I think he'll get caught a few times, and I think it's how he takes him. But the thing is with Joshua, he's not got he's not got Wilder punch power. It's not one punch power. It's almost like a cumulative power. When he throws his power shots, they all really hurt, and it's just cumulative. It's different types of power, and it's like a cumulative power. And but when he knows you're hurt, he makes sure you're done. He finishes. I think he's best finisher in business, to be honest with you, in many ways. But I'm just excited to see it. I just want to. I mean, it's a weird one, because I genuinely love both of them for very different reasons. So it's going to be one where I'm torn. But I'm just going to say, may the best man win.
Yeah. Callum. Callum says. Khan fought. Junior Jones is saying Khan fought Billy Dib, Vargas on La Greco, and now saying Ben needs a belt. More excuses. Khan not been a champ for 9 years. He only fights Americans, or Brook now, who's 50 years past it. What do you make of that? And then R. Flores is saying Amir ready to go to sleep v Ben. Callum Balzarati, I think, says, has Khan responded to Ben yet? I haven't. Callum, Khan did respond to Ben. Go to his Twitter. You'll see that he basically said that, I think Ben needs a belt. What do you make of what they're saying, Richard?
Yeah, I completely get it about what was his name? The guy who said, I can't see out comments.
Junior Jones.
Oh yeah, about the about Khan saying he needs a belt and everything. I think I can completely get why people get wound up when Khan says that, because he said it to Brook for ages, and when Brook got a title, obviously he didn't fight him. So I completely get it, but I think it's just you know what Khan's like. He just says things. I think he's just trying to. I think deep down he knows the type of fighters at this stage of his career that he's been smart basically for himself and probably for his own health. Does he really want to be fighting these young guns, you know, coming up, or does he want to fight someone who's probably like a Brona, who's at his similar sort of stage in their career to him? I mean, maybe the thing is with Khan, deep down, I don't think he should dive into a biggish fight, even against someone like Conor, you know, who's sort of still coming up. I don't think he should dive straight into a big fight. If he's serious about having a couple more big fights, I think he should have a tune-up against someone who's, you know, average and who we can just get some ring rust out of. You know, I just think he needs to get a bit of ring rust, because a man count how many rounds. Well, no point in us counting, but how many rounds has Khan had since 2016? Can't have had many. I mean, even before then, before the Algeria fight in 2015, because he only had 6 rounds against Canelo. Since 2015, how many rounds has he had in the ring? Probably not many. Like
yeah.
6 in 2016. 1 went on in 2018, and then another 12 at back end of that year when he went 12 with Vargas, and then 6 with Crawford, and a couple of rounds with Billy did 4 rounds, whatever it was. It's just not, you know, you can train as much as you want, but it's been under the bright lights, and I know he's used to that, but being under the bright lights, you know, ring rust, stuff like that. I think Khan needs to have a couple of camps, little intensive camps, and then work on his craft a bit. Maybe have a little tune-up, and then start getting into these fights, even against a Conor Benn, because Conor Benn's a gym rat. He's fit as how fit he is, and he's explosive, he's fast. You know, it's a dangerous fight in some ways at his age when he's not being, you know, when he's not being training, as experienced and skillful as he is, and you know he's not going to leave his chin out there, is he? But when you're not been getting hit for 2 years, and well, barely since 2016, really, it's dangerous. But I think Khan's just he's just probably winding everyone up, you know.
I think he is. I was going to say that to you. I think he knows that, like I said about earlier when we started the thing, that he knows that he's got a lot of haters, and I think he's intentionally put that out there. He even put a smiley face to his Twitter. Exactly. I think he's intentionally trying to wind people up. I think he knows that what the reaction was going to be. But I was quite surprised he even reacted to it at all, to be honest. I thought he would just say, I can't be asked. And then obviously, but then that tells you maybe, like you said, I actually do agree with you. I think if there's anyone that can convince him, is Eddie Hearn.
Yeah.
I think he might convince him. And to be honest, Amir might look at it and think, he's a British level guy. Yeah, he wiped out Vargas, but really, who's he beat? You know, if I get back in shape, I can wipe him out. You know, maybe, because to be honest, we don't know about Conor Benn's chin. If Amir Khan hits him, because remember, Amir Khan's legs aren't going to be the same as what it once was. So he's going to be planting his feet a lot more, and he's going to be letting his hands go. Yeah, and Conor Benn's got his chin out. He has his chin out. He's defensively not that great against Formella. Formella landed a lot of punches. So to be honest, I know a lot of people go on about his power. I don't know, because Formella was there all night, and then the guys before didn't get wiped out in a round, did they? So I don't know whether we're looking too much into it because, like I said, I don't know if Khan hits Benn. I don't know. I literally don't know. I don't know.
He has got that explosive power himself. You know, I mean, he's not like obviously it's not like a knockout artist as such, but Khan's proven to have decent power at world level. Good power, fair to good power. You know, I mean, I know he's not had that many KOs or KOs at world level, but he's knocked down a lot of fighters at world level. People forget that. I mean, if you look at when people come going about Brooks' power, saying, well, I don't think it's as people were raving a few years back about Brooks, saying, oh, he's got all this power, but who's he knocked down at world level? But then again, he's not had that many. Who's he really hurt at world level, really? Brooke, you know what I mean? It's like everyone said, oh, they knock out Khan and everything, but Khan's knocked down more people at world level than Brooke has. You know, he knocked down Zab Judah with body shot. Knocked down Maidana. He's knocked down TKO. Who was that other fighter he knocked down?
Malinaji knocked out Malinaji.
TKO against Malinaji.
Peterson went down.
Peterson, sorry, that's who we're looking for. Peterson. I mean, even Gas, he had puffed up eyes after 2 rounds.
Yeah,
he's got respectable power at world level as Khan.
Yeah,
so, I mean,
yeah.
And he, and he's against certain level of fighters, Khan generally stopped him. Really, I mean, even like Vargas, I thought Khan had him gone in the second round when he had him down, and I thought this were it. He were going to do him in 2 rounds, and then back end of round, Vargas just stood there. I think it was complacency that more than all, but it was a good shot by Vargas. And then I think Khan had him down again in the next round, but I think that's the thing though. Khan had only had 1 round in like 3 years. It's like when he fought Vargas. Really, when you look at it, I mean, I suppose he needed them 12 rounds, but Khan really, you'd have expected Khan to have knocked out Vargas in a few rounds. Really, at that time, I don't think we expected it to go 12.
Yeah, it was. To be honest, yeah, I think we did probably expect Amir to stop him, but I think that was probably the sign that he's no longer the fighter he once was. Touch says this is actually a good point. I don't know if we talked about it. Says the stoppage was premature, but credit to Benn.
Yeah, I've seen a few people saying that actually, but myself, I guess I could have let it go on for another 5-10 seconds, but I mean, it could have got really hurt because he wasn't defending himself and he was getting caught clean. I think the ref had seen him get buzzed. They'd seen it in his eyes that he got buzzed, and you could see visibly. Vargas, to be fair, man, his legs did a little bit of a funny thing. His head went back. I just think he was. I don't think he was recovering from that, and another 10 seconds, 5-10. Well, maybe not 10, but for another 5 seconds of that, he could have got really hurt because he wasn't able to defend himself. He was just leaning on the ropes, wasn't he? But I've seen a few people say that on Twitter, but I think it were they probably could have let it go on for another few more seconds, but there was no point. I think he were gone, wasn't he, really?
Yeah. It says here, LA says, how much do you think Khan would get for the Benn fight? And any idea? I reckon it'd have to be a meaty. I think it'd have to be quite a big figure. Like, yeah. I think it probably have to be maybe about 5-6 mil, probably something around that.
Yeah, about that. It's yeah, I think it'd be pay-per-view as well, wouldn't it?
It would be. Yeah.
I think with both of the names as well, because obviously Benn already got that name with his dad as well. And everyone sort of, a lot of casuals do support Benn as well because of his dad as well, and a lot of like the older fans as well, who maybe aren't as into boxing like they used to be, who really, have that emotional connection with Nigel Benn's, supporting Conor Benn as well. And I think they both got good fan bases. I think it'll be they could really rake it in, to be fair. So. Money talks at the end of the day, so you never know. It could happen, even though Khan's distancing himself from it at the moment. You just, end of the day, like I said, if anyone can persuade him, it'll be Eddie.
Yeah, I'd agree. Where would you? So I wanted to, before we end and stuff. It's been great chatting to you, by the way. I've really enjoyed it. I hope you have as well. It's been really good having you on. But where would you to end it? Where would you rank in terms of Khan? Like, obviously, when his career does come to an end, hopefully when he retires, hopefully I could do another live stream with you. It'll be better then because we can look back at his career. But you know how there was, I don't know if you saw that top 10 list that got in British boxing, all the top 10 great British fighters, and you saw that list. Khan, Scotch weren't there. Khan weren't there. Duke McKenzie was there, and they had like Nigel Benn, Chris Eubank. In the last 30-40 years, if you were to do a top 10 list, right, would you have Khan in the top 10?
Over the last 30 years? Was it the Sun? Was it on the Sun?
It was the Sun, yeah. Before, actually, I want to read this out to you. I want to read this out to you. I want to read you out a tweet, actually. I want to read out a tweet that Ashley Theopane. I don't know if you've seen it.
Oh yeah. I follow him on social media, actually. I followed his career because he's kind of been doing his own thing. It's been having a lot of international fights around the world.
Yeah.
I like Ashley Theopane, actually. Yeah, I really like him.
What do you think of what he said? He said, what currently active British has got a better resume than Amir Khan? He's fought Devin Alexander, Louis Collazo, Saul Alvarez, Marcus Maidana, Terence Crawford, Andre Kotelnik, Danny Garcia, Zab Judah, Lamont Pearson, Julio Diaz, Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi, and Marco Barrera. Which British fighter do you know with a better resume than that?
Current active British fighters, there's no one can come close. Because even a lot of the Americans like nowadays who come through, they haven't got a resume like that.
No.
They really haven't. But he's fought 15 current or former world champions.
He's beaten 11 or 12. I can't
11. Yeah, 11. I think it's 11 or 12, and it's just he has had the thing is, in fact, when I said to him I was having someone were kicking off about Khan under Khan's status about Conor Benn, and someone were carrying on saying, it started, I can't remember what he was saying, but having a bit of a Twitter argument with him, and I said, I basically said that. I said Khan's fought 15 current or former, I just said 15 world champions and beaten 11 of them, and they were trying to pick holes in everything, and they said Khan's only beaten one active world champion. And I was thinking, but then and we're having a bit of an argument, and I said, yeah, but not many fighters have beaten that many active world champions. If you're calling an active world champion someone who's a current world champion, it either has to be where you're the world title challenger fighting the current champion of a belt, or it's a unification fight. Otherwise, most of them are title defenses against former world champions. Let's be honest. How many unification fights do the fighters have in their career? Not many. So when you look at most fighters' resumes, you're not going to get many active world champions, because unless they've had loads of unification fights where they're fighting another world champion who's currently got a belt at the time, or you're a world title challenger and win the belt from that current champion. I was thinking it's just silly. It's just, you've got to, the thing is, you can pick holes of anyone's resume. There's always, I could have fought him then or then. You could do it with Mayweather's. There's loads of people, even Mayweather, you could do it with his. But end of the day, he's beaten them names, and you can't take it away from him. At the end of the day, and he's won. If you include his original WBA title before he got elevated to Super, he's won 3 world titles. WBA regular before the Super was before they brought. He was elevated to Super when he beat Maidana, Super champion, and obviously the IBF, and he's fought for world titles at 3 weights. How many? I know he lost against Canelo and Crawford, but like I say, how many British fighters have done that? If you look at Fury and Joshua, they've not fought anywhere near as many world champions, current or former.
And he's not like he's jumped like 7 weight classes. He's most of his world champions were fought across one weight class. Welterweight as well. Canelo was the only one, so he fought across 2 weight classes. I just think that, for me personally, I don't think there's anyone, to be honest. I think Joe Calzaghe had a great resume, but if you want to, for example, some guy said to me, Conor lost all of his big fights. I was like, mate, Miguel Cotto lost all of his big fights. Yeah. He lost to Mayweather, Pacquiao, and Canelo.
Oscar De La Hoya, he lost some of his big fights as well. Oscar De La Hoya lost quite
yeah. So what I'm saying
is, seen as a legend,
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm saying is, when you look at most good fighters, most of them have lost their good big fights.
Yeah, there's not many. Very, very rare you get an unbeaten fighter, really. Very
Mayweather's an exception, really.
Yeah, exactly. And then Calzaghe. With Calzaghe, like you say, he had some big elite names on his record. He was great, but if you look at his resume as well, though, I don't think he had that many world champions on it.
No, he didn't.
I think it was only about 7 or something like that. But compared to him, he beat the big pound for pound names, even though they were probably a bit past it by then.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there was, what's his name, Bernard Hopkins. He won a couple more world titles after Roy Jones carried on fighting for years, even though he definitely was past it. But
for me, Richard, Calzaghe and Lewis were a level above Khan. I think they were 2 of probably the greatest, British fighters that we produced. I think Calzaghe was very good.
Lewis as well.
Lewis
as well.
Yeah, Lewis what a fighter. He was for me, he's the greatest British fighter of all time. He was special. Yeah. And him and Calzaghe number 2. But I would definitely say that Khan fits among the category of David Haye, Ricky Hatton, Carl Froch. I think like he doesn't get the respect for some reason now. I don't know whether the people will look back at his career after and give him the respect. There's a lot of people, by the way, that do give him a lot of respect. He just, like you said, it's 50-50 with him. He gets like a lot of crap. But generally, human nature, we look at the negative more than the positive that he gets.
That's true.
But I think he's among those like Hatton, Froch, Haye, guys like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think when his career's over, I think they'll start respecting his resume a bit more, and when you look at it as well, I do think I can. Yeah, I think I put him in top 10 definitely. I think, don't get me wrong, he's had the thing is with Khan, it's like in fact, someone put a comment earlier. I don't know if you can find it on yours. About Khan saying he's not actually really got a glass chin. I wanted to say a comment on that actually. Might have been quite a bit back now. I don't know if you want to find it. Can't remember who said it. Somewhere on there.
Khan got excellent. Unfortunately, the likes of Crawford, Terence away, much Brook v Kelly, the ideal. Gordon.
And I don't think it was that one. It was when someone was saying that Khan doesn't actually have a glass chin. It's the shots he gets caught with. I wanted to mention something about that. I was trying to catch it on there, but it went.
There it is. Amir Khan is a big wild note, but also knows by glass jaw. No.
It might not. I don't think it was that one. It's quite a longish comment, but in a way, I don't know if the guy's still on there. But basically,
here it is. Indian vegan runner. Amir Khan hasn't got a glass chin. Just let me put it up. Amir Khan hasn't got a glass chin. It just fights top competition, gets caught. You can't afford to have a glass chin at that level. To go rounds with Canelo would be impossible with a glass chin.
Yeah. So basically, what I think I've actually spoke to you about it before, actually, on maybe Twitter messages or something. But the way I don't necessarily think Khan's chin's as bad as it's made out. I just think he's vulnerable to getting caught by certain shots, which affects his equilibrium. If you look at he gets caught with left hooks. It's just because of the way his style is. He's got fundamental flaws where he gets caught with left hooks or overhand rights. Generally, overhand rights hit you round about here. And if you go like that now on your head, just go like that on the edge of your crown, around there, you can see that everything starts going blurry even from just doing that to yourself. Imagine getting it flushed by like a Maidana shot or something. Like on there, your equilibrium will just. That's where Joshua got caught against Ruiz. It were there, and when you get caught in them areas, and then left hooks and overhand rights, it's going to affect your balance. And once your equilibrium's disconnected from from your body, from your legs, they always say. Josh Warrington said it the other week when he got caught by Lara. He said he knew it. He said he was with it 100%, but his legs couldn't like keep up with him. He couldn't control his legs. And the one other interviewer said it as well over there. Another boxer. But I just think he's vulnerable to getting. Obviously, he might not have as good punch resistance as some fighters, but I just think he's vulnerable to getting caught with certain shots when he does get caught flush in certain areas. I just think it affects his legs. If you're getting caught there, and if we're just tapping our heads like that, and we can. I once when I played football, I was playing, someone had a shot and hit me from behind, hit me there. And, my legs nearly did a funny dance, you know what I mean? I think he just gets caught he's vulnerable to getting caught with certain shots just because of maybe he's got a couple of fundamental flaws to his game, but his defence was always his reflexes, Khan. And I think now that his reflexes have gone with his legs a little bit, maybe he gets caught a bit more flush now or later in his career, I think. And there's no way they got caught with that Vargas 1-2 back in there. No way.
No way. Yeah.
It'd have been long gone. It'd have been long gone. He could have done one of them Billy Joe ones. Yeah. It'd have been long gone by then.
The Malignaggi said, didn't he? Malignaggi said after that fight that Amir Khan's past his best now. He never used to get caught with punches like that.
Yeah, he did actually. Yeah, exactly.
And that's why he said that it depends what Amir's got with his legs against Crawford. I remember, and he said an Amir Khan that was in his prime would have been able to beat someone like Crawford, or would have had the great, would have been a great 50-50 kind of matchup. But he goes, this Amir Khan, he's not the fighter he was.
Yeah. what winds me up as well, right? And what I mean, I know that TV stations are all there to, to big things up, hype things up, but like, I just don't understand why, like all these pundits that are coming out now, respected boxing pundits, why aren't they questioning his inactivity? They just don't seem to do it. They're talking like, yeah, Khan's past his best, but like he's still training all the time, and same with Brook, and they're just not, are they? They're having too long out of the ring. Like no one seems to pick up on it. They're just like, I just don't get how they're not like, I don't know.
Yeah, so you know what, Richard, it's definitely upsetting because I feel like he became inactive at the time where he could have really kicked on.
Yeah, you're right.
And cemented his legacy. And I feel like it's tough. It's tough. It's tough. Like I don't know. I think a lot of people, maybe someone wrote actually a great thing about Khan just on when things were being talked about. He said maybe people will appreciate him a lot more once he finally announces his retirement. Maybe they'll look back and say, you know what, fair play, he was a great fighter and stuff. There'll obviously be certain people that still don't like him or hate him or think he's rubbish or whatever. But at the end of the day, I think the true boxing fans, the ones that follow the sport like religiously, especially in around his time, I think they know what he's done.
Yeah.
And I think they respect that. But yeah, in terms of like we could go on and talk about it all day, in the sense that it was just, he had a good career. He's had a good career. Like I said, his resume was stellar. And it was what it was. You know what, Richard? It's great talking to you.
Really. Thanks for inviting me on. I really enjoyed it. I'm a bit nervous at first because I've not done live before.
Yeah. You know what, Richard? I'd love to have you. I'd love to, like, when I do fights and stuff. You don't have to be on for that long. You could literally come on for 30 minutes. So if you want to do the fight, you could always come on. I'll ask you anyway. There's no pressure if you want to come on. When you're free, like after work or whatever, whenever you're free. Because I'm gonna get guests on now, guys like yourself that have been watching my videos. And a lot of you. The thing is, what. It's great because some people send me pictures that, look, mate, I've got your video on and they've got it on full screen. They're not even watching it on their phones. They've got it on like a full screen TV watching it. And I was like, oh, that's great. That makes me feel really good that people actually watching me like on telly,
Yeah, so honestly, I absolutely love your videos. It's so like because the finish as well, you've got an opinion on everything in boxing, and you can tell that you've got that boxing knowledge, and you can tell that you don't just look at anything on the surface. You delve deep into things, and I like you. Like listening to your opinions and your takes on everything, and just like I say, you're not necessarily just always talking about who's going to win this fight, who's going to win that fight. You talk about everything to do with boxing and sometimes boxing history as well. And it's not just the modern game. So I really love your channel. I can't remember how I came across your channel now. Because when you start watching a few boxing things, different things pop up, suggestions. I think that's how I found you. But a good few years now, though. About 3-4 years have you been doing it now?
I think since 2018.
18, yeah.
Well, I remember you've been like one of the I remember some of you, like you've been one of the first ones, and I remember that there's a couple of others that have been watching me from the start, like literally you're the ones from the start. That's why I was like, it's great to have some don't want to come on because they're camera shy. They don't want to come on, but I'd love to have some of the old school. I have like Fight Gamer, for example. He was in the chat. I don't know if he's still here. He actually said Lewis is not Canadian, he's British. He's been like from the start as well. So some of them have been there from like day dot. Like I remember the names, like Fight Gamer, for example. There's another one, Naima Itcham. He's been on there. There's so many yourself, RJ, because you're RJ Sports, aren't you? On your RJ. And there's a couple of others as well. There's a couple of others as well that have been there for so long, and it's like, wow, these guys have been like watching my videos for so long, and I appreciate it. I really do.
Oh, no worries. Like I say, I'll always keep watching them, and like I say, I'll be happy to jump on here and there, or maybe jump on to one at live for you. watch-alongs. That'll be good.
Yeah. I'll definitely get you on. I think it's been really good. I think people have enjoyed it as well. I'll definitely get you on the live streams. But yeah, have you got? I bet you've got work tomorrow, right?
Yeah, to be honest, I've been off last week. It's my first day back tomorrow, but I'm on a elective, so it's not too bad. But yeah, there was one other thing that I was going to say that I just think is an underrated fight, which doesn't seem to be getting much attention. Maybe it's because it's not happening just yet. I think it's in June, but Teofimo Lopez and George Kambosos Jr. I think there'll be a crack of that one.
Yeah, I think people are overlooking like Kambosos. I think he might be a problem for Teo.
Yeah,
because like Lopez is all this, like he's got that win against Loma, and he's really believing his own hype now.
A bit cocky, I've noticed that. Yeah, like when he went on that Mike Tyson thing, Mike Tyson's podcast a few weeks, they've all been on it. All lightweights have been on it. Devin Haney, he was on it, and Ryan Garcia, he was on it. I like Ryan Garcia. I think he's exciting. I think he'll get beat. Don't get me wrong. I think he'll get a few losses in career because of his style, but I think he's exciting. I like his whole package. You know, I think he's exciting. He's got a bit of personality. Well, I think that they all have all them up and coming ones. Devin Haney's a little bit. I don't know. We still need to see. He's fighting Linares, isn't he? So that'll be a really interesting one. I'd like to see Luke Campbell get back in the mix. I like to see him get back training.
Yeah. Good fighter.
I think he can beat some of them. I think he can still win a world title, but it's just how much he wants it now. After
that division, Richard, is hard though. Because look at that division. You've got Loma. You've got like even Loma, for example. You know, he's gonna find it hard now. Like these young guns, they got Javante, and they're all younger than Luke as well.
Yeah, that's Luke turned pro really late, didn't he? And he had a reality show. He did Dancing on Ice after Olympics as well. So he delayed turning pro as well.
Is it? He
did reality show. Like, he's another one I've supported from day one. I'm a bit like Khan with him. I get emotionally invested with him when he fights. But he's getting a bit older now. But he hasn't had that many fights in the pro game really to say he's been a pro a few years now, so maybe, but he's had a few tough fights recently. Miles on clock, it could affect him, but against the right, I think at some point, them belts, I think they'll start getting spread about again at some point because they'll all move up with all them at some point, and in next year or two, a couple of them will move up in weight, I think, and I can see a couple of belts going spare, and if against the right fighter, Luke Campbell can still win a title against the right fighter. Someone like a Fortuna, he was meant to fight him for world title, and it all went wrong, didn't it? But, yeah, I think that's an exciting division. Which we could have a live about that division again at some point.
Oh yeah, for sure. Haney Linares as well. Richard's asking for your opinion. Kambosos is undefeated. Teofimo must bring his A game.
Teofimo's going to have to be on tip-top form to beat Kambosos. People sleeping on Kambosos. I've been following him as well on Twitter, and he's a complete gym rat. He's always in there. He's looking sharp as well. And he had a decent win against Lee Selby, didn't he? But it's a shame it's not happening in Australia. He wanted it in Australia, did Kambosos, because they're getting capacity crowds over there now. In States, so it's a bit of a shame it's not over there. But I think it's in Miami. But that'll be a good fight. But Linares, I don't know. I think he might be just a little bit too much. I think it's hard to tell with Linares. I think he's an unbelievable boxer, and he's got pound for pound ability in the sense of in terms of boxing skills. He'll always have that. And he's a gym rat. He's another gym rat. He's look at his age, and he's still going strong. He's had about 3-4 comebacks as Linares, and he comes back strong every time. He's been knocked out a few times as Linares, but I think that'll be a true test for Haney, because Usyk was a bit small for him. What's his
Gamboa?
Name? Yeah, Gamboa. It were quite past it, I think. Really.
Yeah, it was.
Davis had already beaten him as well. Davis had already beaten him, hadn't he? But it's a hot division, is that? No question.
Yeah, it is definitely. Richard, I definitely enjoyed having you on. Great. You know what? I'd love to have you on. Like, I don't know if you're going to watch it though. BJS v Canelo.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I'll be definitely watching it. Funny enough, I've got an half marathon next day. You know, like in the morning. like I did when Khan fought Canelo years ago.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely going to be watching it, so that could be a possibility actually.
Yeah. And also, like, I'll ask you anyway. I'll ask you on all the big fights. There's Andrade Williams. I don't know whether I'm going to do one for that.
Yeah, I never replied about that earlier.
Oh yeah. What's your take on that one?
Yeah, I don't know, because I think Williams is at his peak now. He seems to be fighting. He's on form. But Andrade, it's like he's clearly a slick boxer, but he's another one who's a bit inactive, and they don't fight enough, and he's not really fought the big names really, has he yet? So
yeah.
I think Andrade. My heart's going with Williams. I really want Williams to win, but I've got a feeling that Andrade might just be a bit too slick. But they're both great boxers.
He did. I remember him fighting Brian Rose.
That was years ago as well.
Yeah.
Was it him that did his nose in it?
Yeah.
Badly cut nose, didn't he? I remember he proper took him apart though, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. That was around the time when Khan was in his prime. That was. I remember that. I remember that fight. Andre's been around for ages. Literally, he's been around, and like when you think about it, he must be like, although he's had easy fights, though he's undefeated. He's not really had a test.
That's what I mean. And like Billy Joe had been a good fight, but it's just a shame what happened with all that drug testing stuff. But then Billy Joe got stripped, didn't he? But I can't remember what happened. He'd been using one of them stimulants that strip you your body fat.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Yeah. That's what Canelo were actually using something strips.
He was using a nasal spray. I think Canelo was positive for Clenbuterol, I think. But they said it was the meat.
Yeah. Well, even Tyson Fury had an issue with that, didn't he? And he said, I don't know what drug it was. I can't remember what ped it was, but he blamed something on meat, didn't he? Because when he was out of the ring, while he was out of the ring for a few years, with all that going on, and he had like a suspended ban or something, didn't he? But it's a bit of a. I must admit, the drugs, the PED thing in boxing, it's just such a grey area, isn't it? Like Peterson that time, McCann, like one of the world sanctionings took his world title off in WBA, but IBS let him keep it. It doesn't make sense.
That's a bit weird, isn't it?
Bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
They need some sort of unified thing for the drug testing. So you also fight using drug testers and all this. Why don't they just have like a unified boxing worldwide drug testing thing? I don't know. It's all a bit, for all governing bodies, but they never will, because they're all their own, sanctioning bodies, aren't they? It's never going to happen. But
before you go, Richard, Richard Brown's asking, have you seen much of Rashidi Ellis?
No, I haven't, to be honest. No.
He's apparently he's American welterweight who's very up and coming. He's a very talented, very fast hands.
Yeah, I'm going to have a look into that though. Rashidi, is it?
Rashidi Ellis.
I don't think I've heard of him. I might have seen his name flying about on Twitter a bit, but no, I'll have a look at that. How many fights has he had? I think he's had. Someone was saying 14, maybe. I don't know. Maybe which. I think he's had a couple. I think so. I think he's had a couple fights. Actually, let me have a quick look. Actually, Rashidi Ellis. I don't think name rings a bell. Yeah, he's 14 fights. No, sorry. No, it says here Rashidi Ellis 23 fights. 23. Oh, okay. And he's had 14. I haven't heard of him actually popping up, but I'll have a look into that then. I'll have a look into him. See 23 fights, 14 KOs. He's probably been recognized. American. Yeah, American. Yeah. I'll have a look there. I'll have to have a look into him. Yeah, I'm surprised I haven't seen him pop up. Maybe I've seen a clip of him, didn't realise his name. I don't know. Yeah, possibly. In fact, I follow like loads of prospects on Instagram, American prospects, but I follow that many. Maybe I've missed a few of them. I'll have to have a look. But following like 7,000 people on Instagram, it's got to the point where I'm following that many. It's like missing a lot of posts on there, but. That's one thing I love about a lot of boxers. Like they're really active on social media, like Instagram and Twitter. So you you get to see loads of up and coming fighters and stuff on just through Twitter. You know, you've seen little clips. It's all about the viral clips, isn't it, these days? So it's yeah. Well, I'll look him up, definitely.
Yeah. Richard, it's been a great pleasure talking to you.
LSV Eddie Gomez won. I'll have a look at that one.
Yeah, LSV Eddie Gomez. I haven't seen that one. I'm gonna go check that one out as well straight after. But yeah, Richard, it's been great having you on, mate. And I'm definitely have you on again. I'll message you on Insta. I think it's been a great success. I think a lot of people have come in and viewed, and yeah, I've really enjoyed it. Cheers. I really appreciate you coming on.
No, thanks, Imran. Honestly, thanks for the invite. Like I said, I was a bit nervous at first because I'd never done a live, but like, yeah, it's been really smooth, and we just sort of once we got chatting about boxing as well, it just flows. And then we've gone, we've jumped through so many subjects. It's been good, and then we've looped back. You know, I mean, it works well. So yeah, definitely. No, thanks a lot for having me. I really appreciate it, and yeah, I'll definitely be on again then, 100%.
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
Cheers, Rich. And hopefully, like I said, I'll message you on Insta, and then we'll definitely do this again. So,
perfect.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for coming on.
Have a good night. Yeah, keep up the good work as well, man. Honestly.
Yeah, cheers. I appreciate it.
You're really active with it as well, so there's always videos coming out. You know, like I always get excited when I see that you've posted one up. So
yeah. Cheers. I appreciate it. I really appreciate the sport. And yeah, hopefully I'm definitely going to have you back on. It's been great. I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it. Richard saying, see you, Richard. Richard Brown saying,
Richard Brown. See you, Richard. Nice to have you interacting with us. So like I say, just next time as well, just keep questions coming. We'll have a good conversation about stuff, you know. Just good to hear everyone's opinions.
There were so many questions. I couldn't get through all of them because we were just so into chatting. Literally, there were so many questions, come in. All of these questions, and we just didn't get it. We just didn't get through all of them because we were just so busy talking. Callum's asking for your Instagram.
Yeah, so my Instagram is it's Joycinho. So so it's basically spelt like the Brazilian way. So it's Joycinho, Joycinho.
If you're following my Instagram, just type in Joy and you'll find it. I'm following you. I'm following Richard, so you'll find it.
Nice. Yeah. Just find it through yours. It's easy. It'll be easier.
Yeah.
Just put Joy in. It'll just come up with, or Joyce. It'll just come up. Yeah.
But yeah, Richard, it was great. It's been great live stream, and take care. Have a good week. Have a good next week. I know it's Easter, and I'll chat to you soon.
You too. Perfect. Thanks a lot, Imran. Have a good night, will you?
Cheers.
Take care.
Later,
everyone. Cheers. Bye.
Bye.